the first time, brother. So
you got it, man.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being my guinea pig. Thank you for real, man. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, man. I'm honored to come and talk with you always. Two artists getting together and chatting. So
it's awesome. So what we should talk about, man? First, I don't know.
It's up to you. Yeah.
Maybe you can tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah. How far back do you want me to go?
I don't know. When you parents met. Nah, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
so how
I could tell you about that.
Oh, you can tell me if you want. Definitely.
No,
No,
we don't need to talk about that.
Maybe they won't be happy. Like, why are you talking about me there?
Well, they always have like a funny story of like.
It was funny. So
yeah,
we could talk about it.
We could. They always joke. It has to do with camping and a tent, and here I am.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, we should edit that out.
Just in case. So, I don't know, man. You're a great painter. I'm sure you didn't start last week. So, how did this happen?
Well, just like you, I'm sure, I started art as a kid. I shared a bedroom growing up. I grew up in the city, Lowell, Massachusetts. Reminds me a lot of like Norwalk, a little rough. And we didn't have a lot of money, so I shared a bedroom with my brother growing up, I think for 12 years or something like that, which I loved, and I don't think he did, because I think he wanted his privacy. And I think once he needed his privacy, my parents were like, it's time for you to get your bedroom.
So he was older than you for Harmon?
He's 3.5 years older than me. Okay. Yeah. So once he hit his teens, it was kind of like time. Maybe I was 9 when I got my own room. I actually had a room. I just never went to it. I just wanted to be in the room with him. So,
were you scared?
I was scared all the time. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We just always did everything together. And that's actually how the art story for me kind of started, because he was 3.5 years older and he was good at art. And I remember, I think my aunt came to visit one time, and, Chris was getting really good. His name is Chris, and he was getting really good at art. And I think she brought him like an art set, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And I was probably a little jealous, wanted an art set myself. But of course, we shared the same space, so I was able to kind of use it. And then from there was just like a nice sibling rivalry a little bit, where we draw together. I think we were into the same, we play with the same toys. And then I think when we got a little older, we got into comic books. Oh. So in late 80s, early 90s, I was into Wolverine. He was into Spider-Man. So it was almost like whatever one I was into, he was into the other one. Or whatever one he was into, I had to like the other one. So he liked Spider-Man. I was more of like a Wolverine, Incredible Hulk kind of guy. And from there, he went on into high school. He was kind of like unmotivated. So when he went into high school, he won a bunch of awards, but he wasn't trying really hard.
Rewards like drawing.
Awards, yeah.
Awards.
Yeah. No, I think I said rewards. Yeah, he won like just like he'd do a drawing and then he'd put it in a competition and then like he'd win. I think he won a couple silver keys in the Boston Globe Art Show at the time.
Where was that?
It's in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay, cool, man.
Yeah, so then from there, it was kind of like, well, he won 2. I got to win 3. So, but he was 3.5 years older. So it's always interesting because the person that goes first is always susceptible to somebody else breaking a record or something like that, right? It's kind of like why you see like the LeBron James, Michael Jordan kind of Kobe conversations, and you're like, they wouldn't be anything if Michael and Kobe didn't come first. So LeBron, it's weird to kind of compare them all because they're all, Michael was inspired by whoever came before him, Kareem and Dr. J and all them. So anyway, so Chris went first and he won a bunch of awards. And then after that, I was like, well, I got to win a bunch of awards too. I got to do more than he did, competitive family. And I ended up winning a bunch of awards too. And then that from there was like, let's go to college. I went to Mass Art in Boston and got a degree in illustration. I wanted to be like a painter, like Norman Rockwell. But the thing is, at the time in art schools, there was no realistic art at the time. So if you went into the painting department...
What year was this?
This was 1997. 98, actually. 1998 I
So
started.
how was the art school in that moment? Everybody was trying to do what?
They were just kind of all over the
pop
place.
art, kind of
Yeah. Well,
expressionism.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, art had moved away from painting anything realistic like portraits and stuff, the stuff that we're interested in, that you're tattooing on people. The art world had moved away from it, and the philosophical side had really taken over in the expressionist side.
That's great.
So if you went into the painting department, they wanted you to be very expressive, right? And if you wanted to paint like Norman Rockwell, they were like, well, he was an illustrator. You should go into illustration. So all the people that were interested in doing anything realistic kind of were diverted into illustration. So I did my 4 years of mass art. I definitely feel like I came out and I was kind of lost at the time. And then I ended up, fucking around for a couple of years. Can I swear on that?
Of course.
Okay.
It's the internet.
Okay. I don't know if it's like you have to change your settings and make it for kids or not. So I ended up, taking a couple of years off and doing random odd things. And then eventually I went back to grad school for animation. I had seen The Incredibles at the time. I think it was like 2004. Remember The Incredibles?
How old are you again?
I am 42.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So at the time I was like trying to figure out how to make a career in art and get a paycheck, but not do my own thing, but get a paycheck. But I didn't want to get a full-time job, but I kind of did. It's like that dilemma of like, it's nice to have health benefits and all that fun stuff. So I considered animation at the time. So I moved out to San Francisco and studied for a year to get a master's in animation. And then from there, I was put into this position where they were like, you need to draw really well. So I ended up taking a class with this guy, Warren Chang, and he basically, him and I just would talk before every class.
It was this animation when it still was a lot of this done with hand drawings rather than computers, or for the storyboards?
Computer had just like really taken over. That's where like The Incredibles was just like, I saw that movie and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. But before then, there was some 3D animation. It was transitioning from 2D to 3D. Mm-hmm. And after going into 3D, I was like, I want to do 2D. But the thing with 2D is that a lot of the keyframing and stuff like that is done overseas. Oh. So it came back to this question of like, where am I going to get a job doing this? If I continue down this road. So I ended up taking that class with Warren. It was more of drawing heads and hands. And he gave me just a list of artists and really steered me in the right direction. Basically said, if you go back east, you should look up these painters. And if you don't know them, then you should.
Meaning to try to get in contact with them?
Yeah.
To improve your work through them teaching you somehow?
Yeah.
Or just mimicking their work?
Yeah.
What was the idea that he proposed?
His idea was that I think he kind of posed the idea of like, do you really want to be an animator? And I was like, not really, but I want to get a paycheck and I want to do the thing that I love and I'm trying to figure it out. Right. So then he was kind of like, if you want to do that thing, you should look up these artists. And that's where he gave me a list kind of Max Ginsberg and Jacob Collins, Bert Silverman, Harvey Dinnerstein.
So at the moment, those were artists that were being recognized for the work. Let's say they were getting paid, they were exhibiting, they were selling.
Yeah, they were older and they were established and they were kind of the top of the field.
Okay.
So he was like, if you want to get that lineage and learn the Norman Rockwell kind of approach and learning how to paint the figure, you should look these guys up and then go study with them. So what I did was I went back. This was 2005, and then I went back east to New York. And then I kind of looked them up, and that's when my kind of atelier training started. And that's really kind of like the work that everyone sees now is more of like atelier training of both a direct and an indirect approach. So Max was like the direct painter, and Jacob was like the indirect painter.
Meaning direct and indirect?
Direct means that you're painting right on the canvas, going right for it. And indirect would mean that you're going to do a drawing first. You'll transfer it over to the canvas.
Okay.
and then
okay.
you'll build a painting in slower stages.
Okay.
So it's almost sometimes called the classical or the academic approach.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's kind of like what I'm known for today is being, a painter of still lives, and that was the start of it.
Yeah, man, I've seen a lot of your work, a lot, and it's amazing.
Thank you.
And you know that, we know that, right? I gotta put some images so people can see it too, what we're talking about.
Sure.
And definitely people can take a look of your book and buy it because amazing. It's super well done.
Thank you.
The quality of the photos are amazing. The way how I explain pretty much step by step and color theory is there too. People can reason of that. And it's so good, man, because I'm a tattoo artist, right? My background, I try to be a painter. I don't like to say I'm a painter because I don't get paid to do paintings, right? But I paint now and then.
You're an artist.
Kind of as a hobby, right?
Yeah, you're an artist.
But the good thing about the book, man, is that it's not just for painters that are already sure that they want to, do oil paintings and that's all. No, whatever you want to do, if you want to do illustration, even if you want to do comic books, if you want to do tattooing, the theory is basically the same.
Yeah.
Then you just use the tools that you're required to use for different, right, jobs, let's say.
Absolutely.
But the basic of the information should be the same. And it's great the way how you approach it in the book, man.
Thank you.
And definitely I'm going to put the information if I find a way to put a link. It's the first time we're doing this. It's my first time, and I'm trying to, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Don't freak out when I talk or anything. Actually, I'm doing my first one in English. I don't know why I should have to start doing it in Spanish and get confident and then jump to English. But
you're doing awesome.
We do what we do, right?
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of the whole podcast idea is to do it both in English and in Spanish. So I know a lot of people that just speak Spanish, and I have friends that also have great information and they speak fluent Spanish. So it would be good to share that in both languages. But yeah, man, I'm gonna try to find a way to put the information of the book, the link for the Amazon or the other account. Your website has it too, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could just Google The Artist Still Life, and it should be the only book that comes up.
The Artist Still Life.
Yeah, or just Todd M. Casey on Amazon.
So yeah, but the point is that it's a lot of good information for everybody. Let's say like everybody that wants to do any form of art. I always say to people that want to learn from me or my shop how to tattoo or whatever, not just try to get a tattoo machine and start doodling.
Yeah.
That part is important. You need to practice with the machine, but you need to create some art backgrounds too. And that will make so much easier the whole process. When you already have the background, it's easier to learn and practice with paper. Yeah. You make mistakes on paper.
Well, and you're permanent, so it's not, there's no Command Z button for you, right? You can go back in time.
No Command Z, man. But yeah, man, the book is amazing. The information is amazing, and it's crazy. So what I was trying to say, going back, sorry, kind of went out of the chart. But the point is that I've seen so many of your work, and I can't recall the first work that I get to know of yours. It was so elaborate, like big composition with a lot of objects and so much detail and beautifully built,
Is it the bugs?
I saw something probably with glasses and probably a chip, right? Like a boat or something.
Yep.
Like the old ones. I wish I can remember exactly like what was in the whole painting. I did. That. I
did a few of those.
I kind of saw the painting as a whole thing with a lot of objects, and then trying to value perspective, what is background, what is foreground, composition, all those kind of concepts, right? More than trying to remember exactly what it was in each of the corners of the painting. But then I also seen a lot of your work that is super kind of a la prima, kind of super like direct.
There you go.
Do a quick drawing and start putting direct the color there.
Yep.
And you build those beautiful lemons and oranges and the drink cocktails glasses.
Yeah.
I remember the skulls, the tequila skulls.
I know. I love those.
So amazing, man. But it's cool to see both sides of the approach, when you do those super elaborate projects, when you do those super kind of quick, but certain. Like I can see how you're so sure of what you're doing,
Right. And that's that leads right from my story, which is that Max had the direct approach and Jacob had the indirect. And that's kind of the way that I think of creating art as very fun, because now I can do like what you're talking about. I can do a quick one where I just knock it out and I do a quick drawing. Or if I want to do a more elaborate one like the boat paintings that I was doing, then I can take my time and refine it and get the drawing super accurate. So I think that there's value in both sides of it. And I think both should be taught. A lot of the time it's like, it's either one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I like to balance and kind of dance between the two of them. And it just, it's like some days you want to go into your studio and you want to just crank out a painting. And then some days you want to work on a more refined thing over multiple sessions. And having that skill set, I think, to be able to do the both is, it's powerful, because then you're not going to go in and feel like, I don't feel like working on this painting. It's like, I just want to crank out a lemon or something.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Sometimes you want to see the progress, but sometimes also you're doing this super elaborate project and your mind is like, oh my God, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. So at some point you're like, okay, let me put this in aside for a little while. You jump into other projects that you want to study or develop very quick.
Yep.
But that one is right there. And then next day you come back and keep going.
Yep.
Interrupt.
From a business side too, I thought of it. And, the thing with the quicker ones, they tend to be smaller. So what it affords is when the gallery says, do you have any new paintings? And I go, yeah, I got a couple here. I got a couple quicker ones, and then I got these elaborate ones I'm working on too. The elaborate ones tend to be bigger. So the price range for those business-wise, my paintings range from $1,200 to $20,000. So if somebody comes in and they want to buy a painting, but they didn't want to spend $20,000, here's something to offer, So just like any kind of business, they come in and now it's like, well, what do you have to offer? What's your budget? And what are you looking for? So that's kind of how I think about it too, of like.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, because when I thought about doing a podcast, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about it. My thought was, me personally, I got in this world, this planet, and I don't know how to say this. I'm always confused. Mm-hmm. I'm always confused. Like when I moved to America in 2001, I wanted to be a painter. I was so sure. I have to find my way. I gotta go to New York. I gotta go to wherever I need to go. I gotta be in the United States. I gotta paint and find a gallery and become famous and live out of the arts. That was my main thing.
Yeah.
Famous not for the purpose of getting recognized, but just for the idea of people willing to buy my work.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to say, right? And then I moved to America and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there is out there a lot of people, man, that they have talent or they have dreams or they have, driven or everything, but they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's a lot easier because, it's Google. You can ask Google. You can go on YouTube and find videos or Instagram and see what other people is doing and trying to mimic. But I always find an easier way for me to learn when I hear from people that have already been through that process and they can share their thoughts, their experiences.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I have to copy everything you've done. It probably won't work for me doing the same thing, going to San Francisco and trying to study this and move to New York, meet these people. But at least people can pick some information out of this. Like, Absolutely. For example, you cannot always try to sell a $20,000 painting because it might take longer. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, you might sell a few $1,200 paintings or $2,000 paintings and they keep you alive while you keep doing what you love to do, right?
Yep.
So that's already a very good way to see it, right? Do the works that are big and more details or more elaborate and wait for it to sell, but in the meantime, create a bunch of other small projects, studies. I would like to say I collect art. It's not true. I just bought a few paintings from some people, but the way how I can afford it is by what they call studies. Studies, yeah. Studies. So what I mean is like it's a quick, small painting. Yeah, they look amazing, but they just sell as a study. So in that way, they can put the price lower. So I buy like painting from great, well recognized contemporary artists, but for like $800 or $400 or whatever. Yeah. So I know I cannot pay $50,000 that costs one of the
Yeah.
final product payments. Let's call it that way. So yeah, man, that's actually pretty cool to have in mind. So again, I don't know. I'm trying to don't talk too much. I'm trying to go through this. It's
great,
my
man.
very first time doing this, and actually I always working most of the time. I'm tattooing when I talk. The rest of the time I don't really talk too much to nobody. I'm so much inside of my head. But what I was trying to say, and I don't know if I ended up saying it or I interrupt my own thoughts, but was that when I thought about doing a podcast was with the idea of sharing information for me too, to try to keep learning.
Absolutely.
I need to keep learning because I'm doing a podcast and I don't know what to do with it. I just know I want the information from the people that I'm meeting.
Yeah.
I want to try to share it to people. That's all I know.
Totally. Well, I mean, I think you like to talk about art, and that's enough for to get together. And I totally understand it. I actually consider doing one too. It's just you don't want to start something and then not do it. So it's kind of like for me, I think I did it once. I did an interview. I may do another one or two, but to stay on top of it for me would be like the way I think about my business is this: I want to paint, right? And the things around it come secondary. So if the podcast were for me to become number one, it just wouldn't be enjoyable. Definitely. It would kind of be like, I got to go do a job. It's Friday. I got to get a podcast out, and then I got to edit it and stuff like that. So I think I love that you're doing it, but I think it'll be successful. This looks awesome, and but in terms of like business and thinking of business, I do think most artists are not that great at business, and to really think it through and figure out what it is that your needs are. And not every artist is going to have the same goals. So I think tattooing has opened up a huge world for artists and illustrators to make a living. And then it's like there's a weird notion that like artists should be poor and the starving artist kind of thing, which came out of I think the early 20th century thought. Before then it wasn't. I mean, Michelangelo was paid by all the churches and everything, and he was probably very wealthy at the time. I'm not quite sure of that, by the way, but the weird notion that like artists have to be poor. It's like, well, what if you want to have a family? What if you want to have a house? What if you want to have a car? And then it's like finding things that fit that. Like you tattoo. You got into tattooing. You came here with the idea that you wanted to be a painter. I think it's fantastic. So I think sometimes it's shedding this idea that like that society puts on us to say you have to do this thing, and then going like, I just want to make it. And I'm sure you love tattooing. Oh, yeah. You're like the king of Norwalk for tattooing. Not really. No, but you are. I mean, everyone knows about you. And I actually was talking to someone yesterday, and they were like, oh, yeah, I know that guy. And I just think that once we shed our idea of like what we should do, what's put on us, and then we just figure it out and go, I love doing this thing on the side. And I love painting for myself. I think then we get to a better place of less stress and pressure.
Definitely. I always, and this is not that I thought that I created it. I just heard it, and it makes so much sense. I keep repeating it. But everybody should find something that they love to do and do it for a living. Mm-hmm. That's my goal with my kids, at least. I want to try them to help them to find what they love to do and try to find a way to live out of that. Yeah. The artistic brain of me, or the artistic part of my brain, at least, it says, money is not that important. You should be happy. You should create. You should do what you have to do, in order to keep the romantic part of that, that is doing what you love to do. Yeah. But there is another part in me that is, you need money. You
practical.
Have to. Yeah, it's super practical. And through the years, I learned more and more how to make it more relevant. Like, we have to get paid. We have to work with passion for what we love to do, but we have to get paid for that too, right?
Well, it's a balancing act, all of it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. And I'm trying to encourage that in my kids. I mean, my son is 5, right? My daughter is just turned 13. And of course, I try to don't talk too much about you have to do this when you grow up, or you have to do that. But I just trying to let them be, let them do what they do, and trying to keep an eye open in what I find, they're more passionate about.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to keep that in my mind when they keep growing, to help them, to guide that thought.
I think it's even it's definitely a thing where in America you can do it. You're Venezuelan, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine it would be a little bit more difficult if you just said, I don't know your son's name.
Andres,
be an artist. I'm sure it's much more difficult to be an artist in Venezuela than it is here.
Definitely. More those days, yes. And we don't want to go there with a conversation, but Venezuela is very bad right now.
Yeah. So I think in the Western world or United States, I think it's easier to say like, look, we all have a lot here and you can follow your dreams, but it's a balancing act. So you have to still pay your bills, but take some risks like I did, and going to San Francisco and moving to New York and moving to Boston. At the time, I'd only been in like a small city of Lowell.
Let's go back a little bit very quick. So you moved to the city and you contact those masters and you start taking classes with them? Were classes?
Yep.
They were mentors or they were teachers that just a school, was a school or it was separate class? How was that?
Yeah. By the way, there's like a little bit of a beep. Do you hear it? It goes beep.
I don't hear it.
Like a chirp. Hold on one sec. No?
Can you imagine that at this point it's nothing being recorded or anything?
Yeah. Well, you can just chop the middle out there while we're waiting. But did you hear it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think it's one of my smoke alarm batteries is low.
Do you want to hit it or do you want to keep it?
I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's...
No. Okay. Well, whatever. As long as you know.
Okay, it's the first one, man.
Yeah, no. So we'll go so now I'll... So what I did was when I went to New York, I kind of like emailed everybody on the list that Warren had given me. And I just said at that time, I was kind of like, fuck it. Like, what are they going to say? No.
How old are you back then?
At that time, I think I was 26 or 27. And it was just ignorance. But it was just kind of like, there's nothing wrong with just emailing someone and being like, hey, I want to meet you. And I actually dropped Warren's name and was like, Warren Chang told me to look you up. So Max Ginsburg emailed me back right away and was like, I love Warren. He's one of my former students. And if you know Warren, I love Warren, and come visit me. So Max at the time was 78 years old. And he was like, I'm not really teaching all that much, but I do paint at the Art Students League every Saturday. And if you want to come by and paint with me, you're more than welcome to. You'll be able to watch me and you can ask a lot of questions. And the relationship that I have with Max is he's like a grandfather to me. He came to my wedding. He became like a huge mentor in my life. But it was one piece of like the way to think about art and talk to somebody and kind of see how his career is. But he definitely answered. There were other people on that list that didn't answer. But Jacob answered too. And what Jacob did was he basically said, yeah, come to the studio. And he was, at the time, he had a school out of his house called the Water Street Atelier. So he was on the Upper East Side of Manhattan at 68th Street. He's not there anymore. And he had this beautiful townhouse. And on the bottom floor was his garage where all the, this is what a carriage house was. The horses could come in and out. And what he did was he was teaching out of it. So when he brought me in, I had no idea what it was. I just had ignorantly just emailed everybody and just said, I want to study from you. I heard you're awesome. And
it's
then
good. Probably if you sit and thought about it deeply, you will have never even emailed nobody.
Yeah.
You will have get all doubtful, like, no, probably I don't want to bother these people. They're probably busy. What would they say? Yeah. It happened to everybody, right? Sometimes we like, we should do this. And then you take a little too long. You start thinking about it. And then you're like, why would I do that? Why would somebody? It happened to me with this podcast. It woke me up very early every day for a few days. Like, why don't I do that? Why somebody want to listen to me?
Well, there's always the idea that like tomorrow, right? I'll do it tomorrow.
I'll do it tomorrow, and then you procrastinate, and then it never happens.
And then it's always tomorrow, right?
I'm glad you did, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you missed it.
Well, so when I emailed him and he said come in, it was so funny because he was like, someone answered the door, and he looked like a young guy, and he had a Pepsi hat on or something. And I was just like, "Is Jacob Collins here?" And he said, "Yeah, come in the back." So I follow this guy into the back, and I thought that's his monitor or something. He's going to show me. So as I walked in, there's an open studio, and it's 12 people around a model doing fantastic work, and a naked model in the middle. And I just looked at all their work, and I was like, "Holy crap! Every one of these is fantastic, are really good." So I was like, "Man, if I could get in here and be the worst one, I'd still be pretty good." Mm-hmm. And so I went in the back. He showed me to the back, and I thought, "Okay, where's Jacob?" And he was Jacob. It was I was like, "Man, this guy's pretty young." And I think Jacob is maybe in his 50s now, so he's still pretty young. Oh, wow. Yeah, he was born in 65, I think, or 64. So 15 years older than me, so he's 57. So basically, Jacob was just like, "Who are you? How do you know Warren?" And then he was like, "Can I see your work?" And I showed him my work. Now, at the time, I had all my undergrad work. I had my just stuff I was doing on my own. I was doing caricatures a lot. And then I had all my grad school stuff, which all my animation drawings, right? And I had done some just drawing and painting at the Art Students League. And I showed him the work, and he was just so unimpressed by it. He was just like, "It's not that good." So he said, "Look, if you're really interested in getting in here," he's like, "they only accept 1 or 2 students a year because there's only 12 people in there. It's kind of like a 3-4 year program." He said, "Go and do a cast drawing with one of my former students at the Grand Central Academy or Atelier at the time." So I said, "Okay, what's a cast drawing? What the fuck is that?" And then I enrolled just to see what the hell it was. And I remember going in the class, and basically I got in there, and this guy who was like 6'6", came up, and he's like, "Hey." And I was like, "Hey, I'm Todd. I'm here to just do a cast drawing." And I said, "How long does it take to do one of these things?" Because I thought I just do it, fucking show him next week. And he was like, "Oh, we spent like 3 months on one drawing."
Have you ever seen Picasso cast drawings when he was
amazing?
A kid?
Yeah, they're amazing.
Like 11.
I know. Yeah. So he was in an atelier style program at the time. A lot of those guys were too. If you look at Gustav Klimt's work, he was atelier style as well. And that was really just like drawing they call them the antique, which is just a cast. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we were always drawing.
So basically, a cast drawing is that they take a white cast,
plaster,
like a plaster, like a figure, bust, or a full body, and put it there with nice lighting.
Yep.
And that way you can really capture all the gradients and the deep darks and the super bright lights.
Yeah, you draw with a pencil or charcoal, and the reason why is it focuses on one drawing, which is like the fundamental of everything that you're going to be doing, and value. Yeah, it's all about mastering values. So when you do get into the program, the way it's set up is the first year, all you do is black and white. You just do drawings and value structure. And then you start to get into value painting. So then you get like, monochromatic painting, sometimes known as grisaille. And then after that, you start to build into a limited palette and then to a full palette.
So 1 full year of just pencil charcoal drawing to study values and proportions, basically, right?
Right.
So important.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of people will say like, what a waste of time. You crazy?
No.
You need that. You need that foundation. You need that. Then.
Absolutely.
Meaning, if you don't do that year or whatever, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, or just drawing in paper with charcoals or whatever, black and white, if you don't do that to develop the next step of your career of your craft, it's going to take you 4 times longer, or probably you would even never get the real understanding of values. Because that's something that really happened to many, many people. And I notice even in myself, in my work all the time, where I get so frustrated that if I try to do a color tattoo, I focus so much on, or I used to, I try to don't do anymore, of course, but I see it often that we all focus so much on, this is red. Oh, this is yellow. This is a bright green. We want to make it so bright. Let me pick the brighter green in my palette. And at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's always about value. It's always tricking the brain. What is darker? What is lighter?
Right.
And that will build the full tattoo. Even if you decide to change a color that is a green for a red, that tattoo or the image or the painting should still live
Yep.
as the same when you translate into a black and gray
Absolutely.
photograph
Yeah.
because it's about values, right?
Yeah.
That's what I said to people also when they want to start learning to draw, pen, whatever. Just draw. Just draw.
Yeah.
Draw. Build it up. Keep
Yeah.
drawing. And when you become good, yeah, you're not good. Just keep drawing. Just keep drawing. Like I'm 44 right now.
We're almost the same age.
Almost, yeah, but you're younger. I've been tattooing for a little while, and still I try to keep drawing every day.
Yeah.
Even if I do quick sketches in paper, just very quick, that doesn't look too much like the thing that I'm trying to draw. It's more like trying to focus my brain on, okay, what is darker, what is lighter,
Yeah.
what is my highlight, and just a quick exercise just to keep the brain always active, thinking about that rather than, oh, what a beautiful eyelashes, oh, what a beautiful,
Right.
and then you lose your concentration about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to put all the pores in this face,
Yeah.
but then it's not correct in values. Then you see a bunch of
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the fundamentals too. I mean, value is in drawing are the two structural elements under every good painting. So why not focus on them? And I think there's a quote by Nancy Colella that is a fantastic quote. Value does all the work, and value gets all the credit. Color gets all the credit. Essentially,
that's a good.
yeah, basically what you could do is if I took a picture of like the tattoo on your arm right now, and then I just turned the picture to black and white, you'd see that there's a value structure under everything. And it's tough for us to see with a color that's intense or high chroma, what the value is of that. But really what we're trying to do is take and bend a value or a color and make a light and dark version of it, right? I mean, that's what you're doing. And for tattooing, it's almost like you're drawing, right? Because you're doing it with a needle and you're piercing the skin. I don't know exactly what.
It is, but yeah, the principles are the same.
Right. But you're not going to grab a big brush and slap it and then grab another one and a spackle knife.
Yeah. No.
You're just like, you're on the form and you're rendering from light to dark, right?
And you have to kind of build it in a way that you cannot really go back and adjust too much later on.
Yeah.
Because the skin can take just a certain amount of needle before you start causing damage. So, yeah, you have to build it. That's why it's good to do all the exercising before.
Yeah.
So when you go into the skin, now you kind of more confident of what value you put on each area without needing to go back and adjust that value later on. Worse yet, if you go too dark, you cannot make it lighter. If we're talking about black and gray tattoo, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, some artists like to do like darks and start putting some middle tones and start doing layers and layers and layers. I do that sometimes.
Wow.
But it's always good to try to get the most direct approach possible. And if you need to layer, you layer the minimum so you're not damaging the skin, so that the tattoo heal in no time and it lasts,
Yeah, you don't want to. It's not like a piece of paper with an eraser and you can just keep erasing. You're just like, you got to get it. And I think it sounds like what you're telling almost your students, right, is that you should be doing these value exercises on the side. You should be drawing as much as you can. By the time it gets to the performance of tattooing, then you'll be good. You're going to be on autopilot because you'll get it.
Here we go. That's what I kind of try to explain. Like, you need to try to get out of your mind the most possible for the moment when you're tattooing. You just focus on your equipment. Let's say on the technique that you're applying.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to decipher in that moment to okay, oh, maybe I have to do this now. Maybe I have to guess with this lighter or this darker. You shouldn't be doing too much of that guessing when you applying the tattoo in that moment.
Yeah. And you would never tell the client, I'm guessing right now.
Oh, no, yeah, that lets you know.
Hold on, let me go find out if I'm doing the right thing. Javier is right over here.
No.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you got into that cast class.
Yep.
It's valid call it class? It was a cast
Yeah,
class.
it's called cast drawing.
Cast drawing seminar or whatever you were doing.
It was a class.
A class? Okay.
Yeah.
And how long it took you? 3 months?
Yeah. My teacher at the time, her name was Cami Salas. She was very motherly. She was amazing. And, part of what we're doing, too, is that, I go in there, I'm 26, I'm 27. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like I know how to draw. And basically, first thing Jacob does is kick me in the nuts, And I was kind of like, all right. So he kind of threw the gauntlet of like, go do a cast drawing and show me what you got. And I was like, fuck that. Like, come on, really? So that side of me was kind of, I played sports a lot, so I was always competitive, and I was like, all right, fine, I'll go do the thing and show you my badass cast drawing. Again, at the time, it's like you got to shed your ego.
Yes.
So finally, when I went in, he talked me, basically said I can't draw and all that stuff. And then I went over and I was like, I'm going to do this cast drawing. I quickly saw that connection to like the Norman Rockwell kind of painting that I wanted to do. Just by looking around and seeing the way people were working, it was accurate. It was beautiful. It was slow. And Cammie, basically I would write everything down and I'd say, Cammie, just kind of walk me through it at the pace that you want me to work at. And she was like, well, take your time. She actually puts patience on her syllabus. And I thought that was funny. Like, you got to come in, and patience is not a tangible thing. It's something like, you just have to be patient. You have to wait for it to come. And she had put that on bring that with your pencils and your paper. Oh. Patience. And I thought, wow, okay. So I was kind of along for the ride, and I went at her pace and wrote everything down at the time. And slowly, when my ego, it didn't take long, but when my ego broke down and I was like, look at the world that you can now enter by breaking your ego down. Yes. Is when I was like, wow, this could take me places. So I really took my time and just absorbed it all, and then thought, after it took me 3 months to finish the drawing, and at the end I just thought, I'm ready for this. Like, this is kind of what I've been waiting for the whole time. And then I went back and showed him.
You have that drawing still?
I do. Yeah, I'll send it to you if you want to see it. You can show it maybe in the podcast.
Definitely. Yeah. It would be awesome, definitely.
It's not that great. It's kind of like, it's just, he's basically like he's the kung fu master that you go to, and he has the answers. And his first job is not to show you how to fight. It's to break your ego down. Awesome. It's like all those movies, right? Do you like kung fu movies?
Yeah.
I love them, man.
I love them.
Yeah, so like Jean-Claude Van Damme goes in and he finds a master, and he's young and stupid, and then all of a sudden he's like, you break the ego down of the student, and then when the student's ego is broken, then you repair it and you mold them into what they need to be. Mm-hmm. So Jacob's job, they actually did it in Fight Club too. Remember that movie?
I wish.
Well, Kill Bill 2, you remember Pai Mei? The big guy with the beard?
Yeah, okay. I remember flash things of movies. I have no memory. I don't remember actors. I don't remember names. I don't remember movies. Nothing. And worse yet, many of those movies I saw them, like the Kung Fu movie, I saw them when I was little back in Venezuela. There is something that most people might not know, but when movies get translated to Spanish, they change the titles. Sometimes, not like all the time. But if you see
so you probably have trouble finding what those names are now that they're in English.
Yeah, but sometimes people say like, oh, you watched that movie, whatever. And I'm like, well, I don't know. And then I look at it, and then, oh yeah, but this
we call this something different, yeah.
And I wish, but no, it's not. Doesn't happen with like all the movies.
Yeah,
but it happened.
Yeah,
and a lot more with like the action movies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it used to happen a lot. So when people now try to mention it, I'm super lost. But also, I got very, 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 very bad memory. And a fun thing that is not fun, is very dumb, is that remember that Red Box? Is still working, Red Box?
Yeah.
Did you rent movie?
Yep.
I don't know how to Netflix kill everybody. But I used to go there, rent a movie, get so excited, come home with a movie, I watch it already. In the same movie, I rented it like 5-6 times. I just forgot the name of the movie or how it looks outside or whatever. I'm like, oh, this guy.
Well, everything now is a preview. It's like you can preview stuff on Netflix and Amazon.
No, Netflix, yeah, but renting movies.
No. I remember back in the day, Blockbuster and all that.
Yeah.
Go in and just be like, let's try this. Sounds good.
I know.
Terrible.
No, but the sad part is to rent the same movie over and over. Worse yet when it's a bad movie. But I just forget, man. I don't know why. I forget. But you were saying, so
the idea was like
breaking the ego.
Right. It was like you go there, and then basically the job of the person is to take and break you down. And then from there, if they feel that you're worthy or that you can be molded into what you need to be, then they'll accept you. And that's what he did. So I went back after 3 months, and I was pretty excited and confident to show him what I did, but I was also nervous. Like, well, what if it doesn't go well? And I knew Jacob now, and Cammie had written a long recommendation letter for me. So I went there with my portfolio. I showed him again, and he did this long production where he was like, he would look at my portfolio, and then he'd walk over to his like computer and just go, and then he'd come back over and shake his head. And, you know, we talked for good, I think 40, 45 minutes. And there was a certain point where I just said, look, I really want to learn this. And I hope I can study here. And he just kind of would shake his head and walk off. And I felt like,
what do you think was happening in his mind?
I think he was trying to gauge whether or not I could be molded. Because the problem is a lot of people come in to these scenarios, I'm sure you get it, where they think that they know what you're teaching and they're not listening to you anymore. They're already doing what they want to do, but they're coming to you, so they want it. But I wonder if they're going to be recognized, you know, they want you to recognize them as being great, or if they actually want to learn the thing. It takes a lot to learn the thing and put whatever you know to the side and say, I don't know anything, and say, teach me what you want, and then bring back in and say, how can I use this tool? And I think he was gauging that of like, you know, also animators and illustrators were different from somebody who wanted to be a painter since they were kidding. And I kind of was that, but I kind of had taken this long, weird road of, you know, illustration and animation. And I think
you were looking for your own path, right?
I was trying to figure out, like, you know, the other part of it is just growing into being an adult, and now going into the world as a man and saying, like, you're not a kid anymore and your parents aren't helping you. And, you know, my parents didn't pay for my college. They paid for what they could. They paid for half of it, and then I had to pay for the other half. But when it came to grad school, I had to pay for the whole thing, which I'm still paying off. But it was kind of like, once you take that that thing out from under you, like knowing that, like, I always have a support, and then saying, like, now I'm off in the world and I have to figure this out. It becomes a much bigger, vast world. And I think that's part of it too. So for me, I was kind of like, well, I'm not that great then. Okay, I thought I was, but maybe I'm not. And that's when he broke the ego down. Cammie helped me patch together what I needed. And then when I went in there, basically he was like, how old are you? And I was like, I think I was 27 at the time. And I was like, I'm 27. And he just was like, that's old.
So old.
Yeah. And I was like, geez, 27 is old? And then he kept going on and on about, like, how long it takes to, like, make it as a painter. And he's like, you're going to be broke for like 10 years before you can even make a little bit of money. So there was this idea of, like, well, you have to be kind of stupid to do it. If somebody told you, like, do you want a tattoo for 10 years and then not make any money, and then hopefully you'll still do it at the end and make some money in 10 years? So there was kind of like that idea of, like, look, I'm doing it for me, and I'm doing it because I love it, not so much for the money side of it. And I need it. And I'll figure out the rest of it. I'll work. I was a waiter, you know, for many years. So I was like, I'll be a waiter again and do whatever I need to do to learn this.
We're single, you, right, still?
Was it?
You were single, right?
Just started dating my wife at the time. Okay. So, but yeah, I kind of felt like.
Is she into arts?
Yeah. We met at Ralph Lauren. I was in the art department there, working on and off as a freelancer. And, which is also part of the story.
Yeah, you gotta tell me a little bit about it, definitely.
Oh, well, so when I went back from Warren Chang to New York, I went to go see my old boss because I worked at Ralph Lauren the first time in New York. And she said, can you work? And I said, yeah, I can. Doesn't mean I want to. Because I had left Ralph Lauren because I wasn't a corporate kind of guy. I was like doing these mechanical things in Photoshop. And I thought, like, this is boring, very boring. And that's when I went to grad school, right? So what ended up happening was I went to grad school, and then I just came back to take that summer off at Polo. Went back into Polo to see my old boss, and she said, can you work? And I said, I could if you want to pay me. And she's like, yeah, can you start on Monday? And she was like, yeah. And she made it happen. And that's when they put me on a team of 3 other people, and one of them was my wife.
Oh, wow.
So we sat, like, as close as we are, and then we had another 2 people off. And we were all on the team, and me and her had to communicate all the time, and we started flirting, and and then from there we started dating after, and that was kind of like the beginning of all of this, where I told her at one point, I said, look, you know, love dating you and all this stuff. I'm applying to do this thing, and I don't know where it's going to take me in an atelier, and I'm going to be broke. You know, I'm not going to have a job. And she was like, we'll make it happen. And that's kind of like when you just knew, like, that's a good one. So,
yes.
So back to the Jacob story. was that basically he was like, you're old and all this stuff. And then after like that fucking ego was squashed.
I'm sorry to interrupt a little bit. How awesome, right? How
Yeah.
different everything could have been. Like, let's say you fall so deep in love with this
Yeah.
girl, and she said like, "No, you're dumb. Don't do that. Here you
Yeah.
have a secure job. One day you might be a illustrator, I don't know, designer for the company you're already in."
Yeah.
And she could have convinced you thoughts, and you know.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, what she liked about me was at the time I was going to our Students League all the time, just drawing every night. And another funny thing that happened was I was on a TV show and I hosted this show called 3 Men and a Chick Flick.
What?
Me and 2 other guys. Yeah, it was just kind of like, it was kind of like dinner and a movie. During the commercials, you come back and we're like, hey, guys, you know, what do you think of the film? And they're like, well, I thought this about Selma Hayek, right? So we did the movie Frida. And at the time, I was like, super cool that I'm doing it. And then it was like the night and everybody in the office was talking about it. They're like, it's going to premiere tonight on TV. And they're like, what are you going to do? You're going to have a party? And I said, I'm going to go draw. Like, I'd rather go draw. That's what I want to do. I'm not.
You knew what you wanted, right?
Yeah, I think, you know,
That's hard, man.
well, I wasn't interested in any kind of fame or things. It's like if something fell in my lap and something like that happened, I would do it. But I wasn't going to like gloat or be like, I'm on TV, everybody. So I went to our Students League that night and I just drew and missed the premiere. I didn't particularly care all that much.
But you were 27 or so, right?
Yeah.
So still is.
So she had seen all that. And she was like, you're so passionate about the thing, which I think is what she loved about me, you know?
But what I'm trying to, the ideas that are coming to my mind right now is that even though you weren't interested in pursuing a TV career or anything, that was not like you thought, still being 27, dating somebody and being in the office where everybody's talking about that, and you're still saying like, oh, I'm not doing anything about it, I just rather go and draw.
Yeah.
It's not easy, man. It's not easy to don't get distracted, is what I'm trying to say. Because human beings are social, right? We want to try to fit. We need to fit, right? In our environment. And you were put in that position, that offer was in your hand, right? Like, this is a great moment for you to be accepted by your group, right? And belong to that group and have the group around you and you being part of something bigger than it's not just you in the planet, different city, away from home and all of that. And still you decided to deny that moment.
Yeah.
It's that you really were going for something, right? In your mind. Like,
I always squash my ego. I always try to keep it in check. And if you allow any of these moments to get too far out, you need to keep your humility. And for me, it was like, I'm not an actor. I was on a TV show, and
yeah, but further, my thought right now is further than that, right? It's not just being famous or being recognized for being in TV. It's just being in a group.
Yeah.
Even if you wouldn't pursue that, still, what I'm trying to say, it happened to me, for example, and I don't know if maybe because my personality was wicked or something, but even though I knew I wanted to be a painter, and if you walk into my apartment back then when I was trying to be a painter, I was working construction.
I did too.
It was a total mess, right? I have canvases everywhere and paint everywhere, and my floor was stained with paint drops everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But still, if I didn't have nobody either, right? I don't have family. I don't have nobody. I was in a different country and all of that.
Yeah.
And now and then I got offered the opportunity to hang out doing something else. And more than was needed, I took the opportunity and went and do whatever I needed to do. In some part, because we all procrastinate, right? We all push, I do finish this later. But in somehow also, it's because I didn't want to keep being by myself in my thoughts, right? Like I've always been. But you were like, yeah, I'm not interested in doing this other thing that gonna put me in the map in the company or something with my friends or belong to the group and be,
definitely.
You'd rather wanted it to go and keep painting, and that's not easy. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think about people that might be watching this in some point, and I'm sure they're going through that process. Not everybody, but I'm sure some people might be going through that process where they are right now in that pursuit of their dreams, right? Whatever it is, they might be creating some app, or they might be creating their own podcast, or they might be willing to become a painter or a tattoo artist, or whatever the case is. But in that process, you get always distracted with so many temptations, right? It's like the cell phone, right? Like, oh yeah, I need to do this very quick, and then you an hour into.
I know, and then your phone tells you were doing it for 12 hours.
Yeah, so it's not always easy to have that driven as you had it, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely not.
Kudos to you, because it put you where you are right now, and also to you, God, to your wife now, that she saw on you,
Yeah, I was just going and I was drawing all the time, and when people would come by, we'd talk about art all the time, and this other guy at work was like taking a class with me, so we'd talk about it all the time. And Gina went to FIT in New York City, Fashion Institute of Technology, and she loved drawing too. She actually has a degree in illustration too.
What is her name again?
What's that?
Her name?
Gina. Yeah. So, her whole side was that she understood it. She understood the life of an artist, and I couldn't have asked for somebody else to, understand what it is. So I think she saw what it is that I wanted to do and was like, admired it. And she still does. She still looks at me and allows me to have the time I need to do the things that I need to. And some of them are just
like
time
here
sucks.
On a Sunday, right?
No, I mean, like when I said maybe I want to do a podcast, and she was just like, of course you do. Like, and that's fine. And she doesn't give me crap for it. She's just kind of like, I'm always busy and I'm always doing something, and I have something lined up for the next. And she's always, you just need to relax sometimes.
I know, man. That's my wife too.
Yeah.
And she's great.
Yeah,
man.
kindred spirits, man. We're always kind of.
She's great. She's like, what you gotta do? What? I said, podcast. I gotta probably record, 1-2 hours every other day or something. And then
and you have to leave the house.
And she's like, and then you have to guys leave. What? It's Sunday. We gotta do something. No, okay. You gotta do
That's
it.
great, man. Well, that's when you have
super supportive, man.
Yeah.
And all my craziness,
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gina was super supportive in everything that I did. And when I went in, I basically went in at that time, and Jacob said, basically after that whole spiel of 45 minutes, he was like, okay, show up on Monday with a pencil and some paper. And I was like, what? And I was like, well, you're not getting any younger or something like that. And I was like, holy shit, I got in. So it was kind of like somebody was like, you got in, but they also felt like I was punched in the gut in that same sense. And what I had to do after that was figure out, like, Gina knew how much I really wanted to get in, and I didn't think I was going to get in. And she basically, when I said I made it, I can't believe it. I went and saw her right after. We did lunch, and she was like, we'll do whatever it takes for you to do it. And we weren't living together, we were just dating for 3 months. And I was like, this is a great person that cares about me. I care about her too, of course. And then from there, it was definitely a struggle. I was broke the whole time. And
that whole time, meaning
the whole time when I was studying, yeah.
But how long were you under his teachings?
So what I would do is I was painting with Max now at our Students League, so I would go and do that on Saturdays, and Gina was totally okay with that too. Because like that's our time to get together, and I was like, I'm gonna go. And then
you were doing that like how many hours a day on Saturdays?
That was like from 9 to 12. I could have stayed all day, but I was like, that's enough for me. And I always try to find the balance between family and career. Yes. And it's always I like them equally, and I don't want to feel like one's taken up too much time. So, but for Jacob, he was like, show up at 8 o'clock on Monday. We go Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a full-time job. And I was sitting there like, okay, how am I going to pay for this? So at the time it was like $350 a month, which wasn't bad. But on top of it, I was like, well, how am I going to pay rent? Because also now I had to start thinking about paying my grad school loans back if I wasn't going to go back to grad school, because I wasn't now. So what I did was I stayed as long as I could. I think it was 2 or 3 months, which was like the end of that year. I got in April and it ended in May. So then I was like, this summer I'm going to figure it out and then come back with some money and then I'll come back, right? So I did that. And one of the guys that I met there was a waiter in the East Village. And he was like, come on down and see if you can get a job there. He's like, have you been a waiter before? And when I moved down to New York the first time, I was a waiter at the Plaza Hotel. Okay. At fine dining. Met a lot of people there. And
good experience too.
It was, every experience I've ever had, I think is just a great experience, life experience.
Yes.
But I was also in construction too. So right after I graduated Mass Art in 2001, I went home and I was a mailman with my dad because my dad was a mailman. That's his career. So I went and I did it for 3 months. And then after that, it's like they can't rehire you because it's a union. So they were like, my buddy Rich was like, do you want to come do construction? I said, what the heck am I? What's the construction? He's like, concrete forms. I was like, Jesus, concrete, concrete forms, foundations?
No.
Foundations for houses.
Oh, yeah.
Were like the worst of construction. And I did that for like 6 months and it kicked my ass, man. Yeah. But I've had a lot of wacky jobs in my life. My first job I ever had, I think, I was a dishwasher and then I worked at Burger King. And I'd worked at Burger King twice.
Yeah. Wacky jobs, meaning, not that.
That's not wacky.
It's not wacky. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. It's
just random, I would say.
Yeah, just more when you're trying to become an artist or something, and then you're doing all that stuff. You're like, what, I'm doing this, man. Yeah, I need the money, but really, do I need the money that much right now?
Oh, yeah.
So I know what you mean.
Yeah, I worked at like Toys R Us during Christmas time back when I took a break from college, and that sucked. It was just like a lot of random things, but anyway, so I ended up being a waiter back at the Story of Jacobs, and I was a waiter working in the West Village, at a place called Santa Bros, which
it's still there. You think?
Yeah, it's an awesome restaurant.
It's still open.
It's really high end. Yeah, it's on West Fourth and Perry.
The pandemic stuff.
I think so. Down there's so much money, so I don't think. I think everyone's still eating out, right? Your restaurant did okay.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Super rough for a long time. Mostly when my restaurant is very small and with the social distancing regulations, we can put just like 4 tables inside. Yeah. And each table have top like 4 people or something. So it was not much,
What about takeout? Was that big?
Takeout, you help us a lot. Thank you again, man.
Yeah, man.
You did amazing. For people to know, you ordered some food to donate it to the police station, fire department and stuff. So it was amazing. So those kind of events help us, when we were able to do those promotions that we lower the price to everybody that ordered to donate. Yeah. So we weren't earning any profits at all, but at least I was able to keep my cook hired, so he was still, getting paid, and otherwise I would have sent everybody home,
I know. Well, that's the crazy part about all that too, is people want cheap food, but to hire a staff and a chef and a front end and a cashier and a waiter and all that stuff and a prep cook and a sous chef or all the things that you need
everything
to do. 3 line chefs, and to be staffed to not know what the hell is going to come in. You could have 3 orders that night, or you could have 400. And you have to be staffed for it, and people get mad if they can't get their food quick.
Definitely, man. Yeah.
I mean, so you.
I know some of that. I don't know so much yet, but I know some of that.
Yeah, you poke your head in there, and your family, right? It was your mom?
My brother is in the restaurant helping me all the time.
Awesome.
He's like full time there, and my mother, she made homemade desserts.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, because we want to try to keep everything super Venezuelan the most possible. So she knows that.
Amazing food. You should plug it, man. Tell everyone where it is.
It's going to be one of my sponsors, right?
Yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by La Calle de Pascual. You should, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I pay myself from that money and take it from my taxes.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, that sounds like a good idea.
There you go.
Who knows? I need to talk to my accountant. But so you went to waitress. So, man, you were in a school 8 to 5.
Yeah.
It's 5 days a week. And
it was insane.
To the other school with Max on Saturdays, half day, but still. So,
yeah, a lot of time.
It's not like you have Sunday to really work, or Saturday night maybe, were you working on the waitress stuff? I'm sorry. So okay,
Yeah.
you went summer, recap, kind of save some money, whatever, and came back to the school with him
Yeah,
again.
I was still broke at the time, and then I made it as long as I could, and then what happened was like a year went by. That summer was good. I ended up doing like a fellowship program too, where I was kind of driving up to the Catskills and painting. But I was working the brunch shifts at Santa Bros, which was actually good
On
enough.
Sundays,
Yeah.
both Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday, which I love. It's like, people get eggs and stuff, and they kind of the brunchy, lunchy thing. Bloody Marys, mimosas.
Yeah,
People like the weekend. So
I know.
it was a fun time. And then all the way through the summer. And then when we started back up in the fall, I was still doing Santa Bros. I think I did like 1 or 2 nights a week, and then the weekends. And barely making it by. I mean, at the time, my rent was maybe $500, and I was maybe making 1,000, and $350 was going to the atelier. Actually, no, I think I made less than that. What I ended up doing was I had a deal with Jacob, so I could get free tuition if I was going to be his tech guy, so his computer guy. So I updated his website for him. I would clean up images. At the time, there was a lot of film, so I was like the Photoshop guy. I was like the one who knew how to do this for my polo experience.
And that's very good to mention right now, that everything that you learn is always good.
It always comes back.
It's
for me,
always, man. Like sometimes we get exposed to circumstances where, for example, working construction for me, that competitive part in my brain,
Yep.
it kept me there. Like, I have to be good. I have to do it right. I have to do it the most clean and precise possible.
Absolutely. That's a tattoo thing, right?
Artistic part of me
Yeah.
was always miserable. Like, man, I know
Yeah.
how to do so many stuff. I left my country to become a painter. What
Yeah.
I'm doing here,
I know.
taking crap
It's so
from
tiring.
people.
So tiring.
Super exhausting. You have to wake up at 7 in the morning or 6.
Yep.
And I don't know, for some people that's late. I'm whining for no reason. But for me, it was waking up at that time, going to work. You have to drive 2-3 hours, not
Yeah.
getting paid. You get paid when you get to that place. Then discount 1 hour for lunch. Then you have to drive 3 hours home. Get at home at 9 in the night.
Yeah.
Basically, super exhausted just to kind of take a shower and go to sleep, because next day you have to repeat over and over and over.
Yeah.
So again, for many people, they love doing it, and it's good. It's I'm not
Yeah.
saying that career is bad or nothing negative about it.
No.
Just for me, it was not pleasing.
I think for an artist, it's tough.
It was more just
Yeah.
the money, but I learned so much.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That trying to put together this little setup, building that wall that show you, building all
Yeah.
of these things.
Maybe that's why we're both we both did construction, and we're both
Yeah,
I would do the same thing.
yeah. My degree in college is as a graphic designer.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
So I worked for some time in agencies in Venezuela and stuff like that. But now I use it for my tattooing. I use a lot of Photoshop, to put
Yeah.
together my designs and,
Awesome.
and all of that. And I have to use it for this project too. So it's like that, right? You learn a bunch of little things that you always like, what I'm doing this for, when you're young mostly, right?
Well, I think a lot of it doesn't make sense until you're
sense.
like, I have the skill, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things don't make sense until they make sense, right?
Right,
Until they
exactly.
fall in place, like kind of Tetris, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes
that's
said,
awesome.
life is kind of like Tetris, right? Random things that come, you
Yeah.
have to just make them fall in place for them to work.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Right. So it was happening for you, right? Now Jacob accept
Absolutely.
you have not so much money to pay, but you trade with the other things that you learn.
Yeah, for sure. And Max too. I did Max's website for a while. So Max started.
Oh, wait, that was with Max or with Jacob?
That was with Jacob. Max was like, you can come to my studio, and then I would help him out too, because my nature is just to help people out. If I have a skill that I can help them out with doing, and Max is just so loving. He was like, come to my studio and paint with me. You don't have to pay. And then I was like,
Awesome.
well, I'll help you out and do this too. And that's why we had a great friendship. And I still love him. I call him up all the time, every once in a while, just to say, how are you?
Cool, man.
But he's such a great person too. He's always like, oh, I'm so proud of you and what you're doing. And I was just like, I didn't expect that ever, that he would, but it's cool.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So
I came back into the atelier 2008 now. I was there for the full year. And what happened was that's like my year of value, right? So now I was like starting to do the cast painting, black and white, just starting. I mean, that's a year and a quarter now of just doing drawing black and white. And at that time, you're just like, I don't want to do another cast drawing. Like, I just want to paint. That's what the goal is, right? And then the summer came around, and sometimes they offer workshops at the Grand Central. And I was like, I'll take a workshop or two. So at the time, Polo had my name, and they were like, this other division said, we're looking for a graphic designer. So I actually almost got a degree in graphic design too, because I loved illustration and graphic design. And my brother has a degree in graphic design. Oh, cool, so he went to Mass Art at the same time I did. And I always lean on him for graphic design tips. So they said they need a graphic designer. And I said, well, I worked for Polo, but I was more of a graphic artist. But I do know the system, which is an elaborate kind of, where to save everything on a big server and where to find stuff. And I just remember going in there that day and I was like, I'm just going to tell them I want a stupid amount of money. And if
for them to say no, but if you say yes.
Right. If they said yes to this at this time in my life, I would take it because I'm so broke that this would set me up. This would set me up so I can go back and not be broke and I wouldn't have to be a waiter anymore. And I went in the interview and Luigi was his name, Italian guy. And he was like, he looked at my portfolio and I said, okay. And he was like, Dana said you're great. And I said, yeah, that was my old boss, the one that rehired me and then kind of got me this setup. And then he was like, okay, can you start on Monday kind of thing? And I was just like, or I think he basically said, let me talk to HR. He basically was like giving the green light of like, I want to hire you. I just want to make sure I can do it. And I just thought like, are you serious? And basically that's what happened. So basically he called me and he said, I want you to start. Can you start in like 2 weeks? We have to do all the paperwork for HR and all that stuff. And I said, sure. And I said, how long do you want me for? And he said, I think it was like 3 or 6 months. I thought, damn, it was like $50 an hour. And at the time I was like $50 an hour was a rate
2008?
Yeah, 2008. I thought, man, if I stayed for a year, that'd be $104,000. I was like doing math. I was like, I don't have to be a waiter again. And I could come back and then pay for my tuition and focus on not do anything.
You don't need to do something else.
Yeah, I don't have to mess around with like trying to fit in, like helping Jacob out and then also fix his computer and then hopefully get some feedback. Because there was always an amount of time where he would be like, can you fix this right now while we're supposed to be drawing a model? So anyway, they hired me for a year. That was actually the year the stock market crashed.
2008, right.
Yeah, and I thought like, well, they're not going to keep us, and they're not going to keep me. I'm a freelancer, but they did. And that step actually, I was there almost a year. I was there. I made a ton of money, and I was so happy because
But you were as a freelancer working in the building itself, and full time you have to show up at 9 in the morning and leave for 5 p.m.
Yeah, and I was totally fine with it because it was per hour.
No, definitely. No, I'm just thinking about that time to do arts and paint and
so what I did was
or whatever.
At nighttime. I did it every night. I did it
with Jacob still.
I would go to Grand Central now at nighttime and just do cast drawing and painting.
At the atelier?
Yeah. So Jacob had his Water Street, and he also had a school called the Grand Central Atelier. They've merged into one. So at the time he was merging them, and now all the people that I knew that were in the school were doing daytime, and I was now doing nighttime. But it totally worked out for me because I was like, it made me take a step back and think about where I want to go with it rather than just kind of be in it and being like, figure it out after.
Yes.
So I now had money and I could pay my bills, and I had bill collectors calling me, which is the worst thing in the world.
We know about it.
Yeah. And it's like, I felt so sad to be like, my girlfriend and I at the time, my wife now, had just moved in together and I had nothing to offer. And I was like, I'm broke. I was going into my overdraft protection every month. You know that on a credit card or not even a credit card, an ATM card.
Yes, on the ATM card.
It was $300, and I would always teeter below it every month.
Charge you $35 extra.
Yeah, and I would do it because I was like, I don't have any money, so I'd pay my bill and then pay the extra $35. I did that for a good 5 years or something. Yeah. And then finally, it was kind of like this pathway to like being able to get out of debt, and it helped. So then I went back after that, 2009.
It's a different mindset, right? When you're living that every day under the pressure of money,
Yeah.
like
I remember waking up and being like fucking stressed out about money.
the anxiety, right? Feeling that oh my god, this, oh my god, I'm doing the right thing or no?
Yeah.
I need to now find this money. What I gotta do if no? And it's hard to plan. It's hard to make a plan. It's hard to keep focus on a goal.
Yep.
When you're just struggling for money all the time, man.
Yeah.
And when you finally see some money, it's like, oh wow, I can do this now. I can do this other stuff. I can do this other, like your brain just opens, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, if I gotta practice with this, I can buy better materials now.
Yeah.
Or I don't need to worry about that. Now you sleep better, so you're more focused during the day. Everything kind of falls in place, right?
Absolutely.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and it shows you just the anxiety what comes with, being like a lower class. I was like, we were very blue collar growing up. We didn't have a lot of money, and just trying to do things. When you have a lot of money, you can do whatever you want to. It's easier. But for me, it was kind of like I always had to. My mom was always. My first job was at the age of 9. I was a paper boy, and my mom was like, "If you want things, you got to go earn it. Like we don't have the money to give you everything." And I was the first one in my family to graduate college. So
Me too, man.
yeah, it was like it was uncommon for I don't know any of my cousins that went to college.
Me too. I mean, me too in my home. No, my whole family in my home.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it's not because my other 2 brothers are older than me, and it's not because they were dumb or lazy or anything like that. It's because circumstances have to put them to work.
Yeah.
So they don't have that.
For the family?
Yeah, like my oldest brother became a university teacher.
Yeah.
Even though he barely finished high school.
Yeah.
But he was so good with computers and programming.
It's great.
The same thing. He went into somebody's office that have a computer back then. Pretty much nobody have a computer.
Show them what he could do.
He asked, so I don't remember all the details. One day I gotta talk to him more about it. But it's something like he offered the guy to help him with office stuff, cleaning around or whatever, to let him use the computer overnight. So he learned how to do C++ or whatever.
I love that, man.
And he learned all
it's like the Bill Gates
and
story.
He became such an amazing programmer, man.
Yeah.
And my other brother, he's the one that is in the restaurant.
Yeah.
He was with his brain is for sales. He's so good with people, man, because he's a genuine, beautiful human being. He's such a nice person. So he went into sales. So he started working for companies selling refrigerators and stuff like that. But he did a lot of other stuff, right? Becoming a manager. But the point is that he has to stop university to go into all those other. He also helped me to pay my university.
That's awesome.
He bought me my first ever scanner when I was in graphic design. That was so expensive back then. More in Venezuela, you have to import it, right? So to buy them, it's a lot of money. He bought my first one ever.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. He has to stop his own career. He always have also problems with the way how people try to teach and how fast he want to learn and all this stuff. But yeah, like, so I was the youngest one coming to life. So for me, it was a lot easier because they already kind of paved the road for me somehow. Coming from that kind of blue collar, right?
Yeah. Same here. I was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Chris was the older, and I have a sister in the middle, and I did the same, actually. I basically, what happened when we were coming out of high school was I convinced my brother to go to college with me because he was in a dead-end job, and he wasn't really pushed to go to college after. I mean, we come from a very, blue-collar city where it wasn't really pushed. I don't think a lot of the kids even in my high school went. And what happened with Chris was he got into debt big time, and he was just doing, I think, color separations for this cup company, just like doing, the CMYK separations. And he was in debt big time, and he had a car and all this stuff. So I got a bunch of scholarships because I was, trying to beat him, which kind of fueled it and me to like win some awards. And I got a bunch of awards because I was accepted to go to college, and I convinced him. He got accepted to college, and we went to college at the same time. But what I did was also I helped him pay off his debt, just because he would have been screwed and he wouldn't have been able to get out of it. So my mom and I got together and we just said, how do we get rid of his debt so he can start new and go to college and not have to worry about it? And I took a lot of my awards and paid off his debt. So
awesome, man.
that's what family does, you know.
Definitely. Some families, yeah.
Some, yeah.
We lucky.
Yeah.
Our families.
Sounds like we're kindred spirits. So
yeah, man.
but yeah,
Life
so
was awesome.
It's been tough. And at that time, it was like I went back and I got all that money. I didn't think of it as money. I just thought it was like I could get out of debt and then it would free me up to be in a better position later. But I could also study at the same time. I could study part-time. And that's what I did for a year. And then 2010, I went back and full-time at Grand Central for a year. And then I just had it at that point. I didn't finish. I just was like, I think I got it. I got what I needed. And I had all this other training that I was like.
Were you able to start doing colors and all of that during that atelier, or you never passed from the black and gray paintings? After the black and gray drawings, you start doing the black and gray paintings, right? The Grisalias kind of?
Like that year.
That's how you call it in English, Grisalia?
Grisaille.
Grisaille?
Yeah, which is just, it translates to in the grays. I think it's French. So what happened was that year I was at Polo and then I was doing this at nighttime. I was doing cast painting. So when I got back into the atelier full time again, I was now going to do like 1 or 2 cast paintings, which is a month each. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to do color. But they wanted me to slow down and I was like, I knew I didn't want to be there anymore. Okay. So I just jumped into color.
And you were still with Max too on the weekend?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah, and I still go paint with Max now.
And what was Max's approach? Like, you should stay there, or he was more like, do what you feel, or what was his...
Well, the thing with Max is that Max understands that there's a structure to Grand Central and Jacob's way of working, where Jacob told me not to study with Max.
Oh.
Yeah, and the reason why is because you definitely can get confused if you have a lot of different teachers telling you different things.
Yes.
But Max was kind of like, they have a good structure over there and you should go do it. So when Jacob told me I shouldn't study with Max, I went and studied with Max because I definitely knew that like I liked both approaches. So when I go to a museum, I love the Impressionists, which is more of like what Max was an extension from. But then I also love the classical, like Velázquez and
Rembrandt.
There you go. Rembrandt and I don't know why my mind's blank.
It happens.
Van Dyke.
Sunday morning and stuff.
Yeah.
Van Dyke, man. Yeah.
So it's kind of like I still don't know what it is I want to do or have my artwork look like. So I want to take it all in, right? Mm-hmm. Soak it all up. And Max was always just like, yeah, you're doing great over there, and these look good, and very encouraging. And Jacob was like very protective of like, just do this one thing. So I did it and just didn't tell him.
Yeah, which is right. He wasn't wrong. He was right. But
absolutely.
There is not always just one way to be right? There is no rights.
Right. Well, and the reason why I said it was because he had a lot of students that came through that were very confused because they were trying to take 2 different approaches and think that there was an overlap, but there wasn't particularly. And if you were trying to take this idea and bring it over here, it didn't particularly always fit.
Yes.
And rather than fight it, it was kind of like, I can steer you through this easily if you don't fight me. And then you could do that if you don't get fought either. Mm-hmm. And I was in the middle, definitely a little bit lost, trying to be like, no, you guys look so similar or slightly different. And you're the same, but they're not. They're definitely. And what's funny is that we're in shows together a lot, and we all look like we're doing the same thing. But if you talk to every artist, everybody has a different mind of the way that they're creating. So,
Max, he said you say he's like 78 right now.
He's now 93.
Oh wow, 78 back then, right?
Yeah, that was 2007. He was 78, so plus 4. Yeah, he's 92. Yeah, so what I would do at the Art Students League is every summer I would paint with him, and he would do this kind of intense every night from 6 to 9, which I did for a while, and then I was like, I want to spend time with
Keep it
with
a
Gina.
little.
Yeah, I want to spend time with Gina too, so I don't want to just
Definitely.
always. And he wanted me to be his monitor, which meant I could have got it for free, but I was like, I just can't commit anymore to. I need the balance of it all, and I want a life and a family. And
So during all this time, right, that you were under Jacobs and Max, were you also doing your own thing at home, or you? I mean, you have no more time, I'm sure, but
yeah,
more
I
free
thought
time.
about it. I was starting to think about what it is you want to do, because one of the problems I see is that you're in these school settings and everybody's doing the same kind of paintings and everyone's doing a portrait or everyone's doing the same kind of still life. So when 2010 came and I quit like basically on my birthday, March 30th.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of like just about the end of school. And I just thought, I'm kind of out of money. I'm done. I just had too much, and I was just like, I gotta just take all this stuff and get it out. And then that's what I did. I did one last thing with another guy, Carlos Madrid, where I did a color wheel with him, and that really was icing on the cake for me.
Color wheel?
Yeah, color wheel. We created a color wheel, and it's this elaborate color wheel where you take and
Mix first the primary is the secondary, start mixing.
kind of what you're doing is you're taking every color and you're mapping it out, and then you're taking every tube of paint and saying, where does it fit on this wheel? And now I'm taking and making a light and dark version of every color.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it just makes it so you create kind of a neural network of almost like a subway map. When I need to get to a color, I know where to start. I know what's closest to it, and then I can walk in the middle to find it. Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. And I did that. That was another kind of like Kung Fu master thing. I met Carlos in a workshop. He was like, come visit my studio. It was on the west side. I saw him. He was like, you know how to do Photoshop? And I said, can you teach me the color wheel? And he's like, we could trade, right? And I was like, fantastic. Easy for me to teach someone Photoshop. And I went there, I think, every Tuesday for like 3 hours. And I would just mix a light and dark version of every color and make this beautiful wheel. And he would go do yoga in the background. He would just go do yoga, and then he'd come back and look and I'd be like, Todd, man, that looks like shit. He was Peruvian. I don't know if that's like a good Peruvian accent, but
It sounds a little Russian. I think it was Russian.
oh, all right. Well, sorry. So he would come in and just kind of like he would be like, that's bad. You know, like get it better. And it really got it sharp of like master this technique.
What do you think was the problem, that you were putting too much black to the color, whatever, or the disposition was like messy?
Yeah, it's just we created a value scale, and then what we do is we take a color and put it on the value scale, and then when you'd start to associate a color now with a value. So he was basically breaking down, and it was an extension of Michael Aviano, who's like a legend in New York for color, and it's his color wheel. But Carlos was like teaching it to me, so he was basically taking every color out of a tube, finding out what the value was, and now figuring out how to mix a light and dark version. Now, one of the problems that we have in that is we think that you can always add white and black.
Yes, yeah.
But you can't, because white and black are pigments. They're actually colors, and they act both almost like cool colors. So when you're mixing
like red with white, you make a pink instead of
Exactly. So a lot of what we're trying to do is understand hue, value, chroma. Hue meaning what's the color, value meaning lightness and darkness of it, and then chroma meaning is it intense or is it dull? And with that color wheel, you then create a neural map. So anytime I need to say, like, I'm painting a lemon, how do I go lighter? I can add this. How do I go darker? I can add this, right? So if I took yellow and I added black, ivory black is actually a purple, a dark blue, actually, right? So if I add blue and yellow together, it's actually going to move in color space, and it's not going to go straight. It's not going to feel like a dark version of a lemon. It will be darker, but it will be into a different color. Instead, I learned that you could find what a dark yellow would be, and that would be something like raw umber. So use raw umber and cadmium yellow or cad lemon and mix the string that way. The string just means a light to dark version of a value, and then use that to paint it. And for me, I was like, that was amazing, because nobody teaches that. And a lot of the time, everyone just grabs white and black. And then you're just always shifting everything in color space, and you're like, it looks pink, or like this looks strange.
Definitely.
Or my lemons look weird now. So after that, after I did that colorway with him, it was now 2010. I just started doing still lives in my home, because it was like, I then was freelancing for companies. I was back at Polo because Polo was like, hey, you're a graphic designer. You can come work again. And I said, okay. Yeah, I worked for Aeropostale. I worked for Ralph Lauren. I worked for Converse. I worked for a lot of fashion now. I was now in fashion as a graphic designer. And also when I was in grad school, I did a bunch of that too. I worked for Old Navy and a couple other companies, JanSport.
It's crazy how it seems like destiny was calling you into that environment over and over, and you keep saying like, no,
well,
I gotta paint.
It's still there, and I actually love it, and I still do some work graphic design wise. Like I worked at Ralph Lauren up until 2017, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I quit, and but it definitely got us a lot of things. It got me my house, because I would not have gotten a house mortgage as a freelancer. And at the time, I think it was 2011, I was offered the job, full-time job at Ralph Lauren, now in the boys department as a graphic designer. And my brother works there. So
he works
my wife got him a job there. So they're friends. And now it was like, do you want to come back in and work with all of us? And I was like, okay. So I did that for like 5 years. And that was really like when I was figuring out my career. Now it was like 2011. I've done some paintings. I'm in a gallery. I don't really know what it is I want to say. I think I just started doing like that big bow painting that you saw. So I was like trying to figure it out. And that's when I got into Ray's Gallery in New York City. And that's when kind of everything changed for me.
Okay. So 2011?
2010, 2011, I started doing still lives.
But you went to Ralph Lauren too in that time?
Yeah, I had graduated. Well, not graduated. I kind of quit. And then I was like, I need to make some money on the side. And fashion was always like an easy way for me to.
But once you quit, let's say, right?
Yep.
To
Atelier.
To your learning process. We shouldn't call it learning, but you always keep learning, right?
Yeah.
But once you quit to the atelier, right? To Jacob and all that, you went and start doing your own paintings now and start like trying to sell it, find galleries.
Yeah. What happened was I did that with Carlos Madrid, and he was a still life painter. And he would always have these beautiful still lives that he was working on in his studio. And I would see them. And then I was like, well, I could do a still life. I'll try to do it. The funny thing about Carlos too was that I did a painting of a lemon. I got really excited because I was like, shit, I know how to make light and dark versions of everything. And it's not a mystery. And I went ahead and I just, I started to do I painted a lemon, and I wanted to show him. And he told me it was the shittiest lemon he'd ever seen. And I was like, Jesus. So I was definitely determined to kind of do a better one. And then I started to...
Good stuff that you have that competitive in you, you know?
Yeah.
Not like that, oh man, I suck at this, I gotta do something
quit.
else.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
It wasn't that bad of a lemon, but he was another one that I think it's a generational thing where, you know, older people sometimes now are just like very tough on people of like, you need to earn this kind of mentality.
That generations, right?
Yeah.
Compared with now everybody get a trophy generation.
I know. Yeah. But I love it. I love, you know, when people say something like that, I don't go home and cry. I'm just like, well, there's probably some truth in what they're saying, and maybe they're being a little bit over the top. So then I had asked him if he could teach me maybe like a few sessions, and he did like one session with me in my studio. And I remember I had this big freaking elaborate thing. I was in Queens at the time. He came out to Queens and he was like, you get a lot of stuff in this still life. And he kind of opened my eyes to the idea that like, why don't you bring it down to like one or two beautiful things? We'll just focus on that. And that's when I had this big acorn squash, and there was like a globe and like a compass and he said, why don't you just do the acorn squash in the book? Like, do a fraction of like what you have here. That's going to be hard for you. You haven't put it all together yet. And then that's when we had one session together, and then I just scrapped the painting. And I was like, I'm starting over. And then I just did the painting myself. And I just figured so much out in it that I was like, this is awesome. So I was like, now I got to do another one. So I started to do, I think I had four still lives. And then in 2011, I applied for Cavalier Gallery, and they accepted me with the 4 still lives, and they took them. And at that point, you're just super excited because Cavalier is a great gallery. They're in Greenwich. Do you know them?
I just heard the name, but I
They're
never
like
been in
Greenwich,
that one.
Greenwich, New York City, also Nantucket, and I think they're now in Florida. And yeah, so they took me, and I remember like Gina and I went up there with all my paintings. I had like half a suit on. We went on the ferry boat over. I was all nervous to drop the paintings off to Ron Cavalier in Nantucket, and then we kind of made a weekend of it. And then I didn't sell anything for like 2 years.
Wow.
Which sucks because it's like Jacob was right in that sense of like there's a lot here and you're probably going to be broke. So, but then from there is when I started to try to make better choices. Of Cavalier sold one painting for me, I think over 2 years, and then I was like, I don't know if it's the right fit for me. You know, like they seem like a good gallery, but maybe not. And the curiosity side of me, I ended up meeting the Rays Gallery. I think it was 2013.
There is always that temptation, right, in your mind that I'm not selling this still life. Maybe I should paint flowers.
Yeah.
Right? No. There is always a temptation sometimes, right? But again, you have to go back to your own interests. Your own interest. You have to make sure that if you gotta sacrifice the fun, go and work graphic design. That at least they're paying you a lot of money for right?
That is exactly my way of thinking all the time, which is like, if I'm going to sell out, I'm going to go do something that'll make a lot of money. That's fine. But for me, I was doing graphic design during the day, and I was like, I'm not going to sell out during the day. I don't think it's selling out.
It's not selling out.
I'm not going to do this during the day, which is kind of what I want to do, rather than do the thing I want to do. And then you're going to tell me what I need to do then there too.
Yes.
It's kind of like, this is my baby to go and explore and do whatever I want. And this is also a creative outlet as well, and you can tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you. And I didn't want them to be the same.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. So, but that's also why it was kind of like I could go 2 years without selling a painting because I was working Aeropostale, doing drawings and stuff.
So, if this is hard, right? This is just random. But if you have to give an advice to somebody that's starting, right? Automatically the advice should be just do you. Don't try to sell.
Yeah.
Don't try to sell because at the end you're gonna regret it because somebody gotta buy one of those paintings just because they find the painting cool, but you hated it when you were doing it. Now you have to do a lot of those hated paintings all the time.
Absolutely.
And either you gotta learn to love them because they're making you money, or you're gonna realize what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was the money who brought me here. Is it just money, or
yeah?
I'm really selling myself. Is that what I really want, right? So what would be the advice? Just do you, but still people need to pay bills, right? Need to make money. So maybe a random advice. Okay, do those paintings, but sign it with an alias, sign it with a different name, sell them, but getting away from you. No, it's still not good, right?
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough because again, the artistic brain is like, no, man. Art is what it matters, right? It's the passion. It's being true to yourself. That's what it really matters. But the practical mind is like, bro, you have to pay bills.
Yeah.
And if you have kids, you don't want them to go to sleep with hunger because you want to be romantic about following your passion in arts. You know what I mean?
Right. I think it's a great point. And it's what advice would you give? I think it's hard to give advice because everybody's path is so different, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's more like, what advice would you have give to yourself in that moment?
My advice was always to stay true and don't sell out, because if I want to sell out, I know how to make money. I'll go do it at Polo. I know how to make money doing that. And there was a great quote. At the time, I was reading a lot of Joseph Campbell, who's a very spiritual mythologist. Mm-hmm. He's basically taking all the religions and saying, like, they're all saying the kind of the same thing, and a lot of the characters are in every culture has similar characters. But there's morals and stories that you can kind of take out of this mythology that everyone is collectively trying to work through. And Carl Jung talks about it when he's talking about kind of the psychology side of it. And what that is just, you don't want to climb the ladder to find that you got to the top of the wrong wall. You want to make sure that that wall that you're climbing is your wall, right?
Yeah.
So there always should be that sense that you're going down, in my opinion. Like, don't cave into what everybody else is doing. I think that's actually one of the big problems I have with like Instagram, right? Everybody sees what everyone's doing and they're like, I'm going to do this now because this person gets a lot of likes and there's a lot of follows. And I think it gets in the way because it doesn't keep us true to the things that we want to say. So every artist should really take and figure out what they want to do. That's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to leave the atelier. There's a lot of chatter on like truth and beauty and all this information that I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to sit and listen to it because I'm going to make paintings just like you. It's almost like we collectively think the same way. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that I get a lot is that there's elements or whispers of me going into the atelier system, but I celebrate color or I go and do drink paintings or do something a little bit different. And that was actually one of the advices that I got from one of my early mentors too, was he said, I went to him and I showed him a painting and he said, that's pretty much what I thought, somebody, if I gave them that assignment, would do. It's pretty much very expected. And I was like, man, this is a great painting. Like another fucking ego squasher, right? And I thought like, wow, okay. And he said, there's a book by Seth Godin out there called Purple Cow. And he said, if you were driving down the highway and you saw cows, you probably wouldn't stop because it's pretty common to see cows, at least kind of in the Northeast, right? But if you saw a purple cow, you'd probably stop and find out what the hell's a purple cow doing here, right? Yeah. And basically what he was saying was be the purple cow. Make your artwork the purple cow. Make it something that like, the way I interpret it was, if you're going to do something, do it slightly different because it may be more interesting. If we were all in a show and we all painted the same lemons in a silver bowl from the same angle and they all looked the same, they all had the same background and all the brush strokes looked the same, it'd be pretty boring. But if one person was in there and they put a purple background in, you'd be like, whoa, this is interesting. So I think the way that I took it was you could interpret things slightly different and have your own kind of spin on them and make them interesting.
What are your thoughts about, I mean, this is not rocket science, but I think about it all the time, or it surprises me all the time. You take a group of people, right? Let's say 12 students, and you start teaching them, specifically the process, right? Like this is the art background, values, perspective, proportion, composition, blah blah blah, right? And this is the technique application, right? Pressure, no pressure, mixing, no mixing, medium, no medium, or longer needle, shorter needle, soft edge, curve, liners, whatever it is, right? And you give them all the information, but always your own personality got to show through,
right,
in the work, right? So that is something that is always present in my mind, right? Sometimes you don't really need to put too much effort in trying to be original.
Yeah.
Because that originality got to come out of your experiences. You already built yourself
if you're open,
44 years of.
If you're open to it.
If you're open, yes.
Yeah.
But that's I think when somebody asks like how I become more original, it's no, just try to become good in the techniques. Try to learn and become very good in your technique and your materials.
Right.
That your experiences got to show through.
And be open. Like I think find your interests. I think that's really, to me, where you're going to be slightly different than somebody else. Because technical side is like, if you're into art, you could probably, it's almost like handwriting. Everybody can articulate something, and then it communicates that that's a C or that's a D and that's an E. But when it comes to learning and mastering, it's almost like playing a guitar, right? Mm-hmm. You can play the guitar now. You understand the scales. You understand chords. You understand everything. Hand positioning. What is it you want to say now? And that's the question. Do you want to play country music? Do you want to play classical music? And I think one of the problems is if it's not talked about early, the idea that like a lot of stories have this idea that like, I took the road less traveled by and that made all the difference. This idea that, you can't go into the forest as a group. You have to go individually and find yourself. Mm-hmm. Because if there was a path there before you, you're following somebody else's path. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, it's like we may have a lot of overlap between how we feel about things, but our interest is like, we're not going to go to the restaurant, order the same meals every time. Right. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, here's your menu of whatever it is you want to paint and go down that road and fuck up and get it wrong. But you're going to find it. You're going to find the interesting things that you want to paint. And don't just paint lemons because everybody paints lemons. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He's selling the lemons. I'm going to do lemons.
There you go. Yeah. Flowers. Yeah. Flowers are always kind of like, if you have a love for flowers, I'd say paint them. I think that's fantastic.
They're beautiful. I love them.
But I'd also say go grow them. Like understand that process even more. Get deep into it. And the more it goes back to what you're talking about with your camera stuff here. You get obsessed with the thing and you want to master it. And then after that, you understand it. And then you can use the thing because of the mastery. And I think that's what I'd promote as a teacher all the time, which is just, we're all going to have a different perspective. And if I tell you what to paint, you're going to fall out of love with it in like 3 seconds.
Definitely.
But if you love it and you have a tie, because we have ties to objects, like, I have rosary beads from my great grandmother from when she passed away. And, we used to go to church all the time together. And if I painted that thing, it would mean something to me. Mm-hmm. But an atheist may not give a crap about, rosary beads. And they'd be like, I don't want to paint them. Definitely. So paint the things that are true to your heart. Charles Hawthorne actually said, paint the things of interest because it'll come through in your work if you're not interested in it. Something to that effect.
You got to show, right? Oh.
Yeah, it will show. It'll just be like you didn't want to paint that thing. Your heart wasn't in it. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of my favorite quotes that I did throw in the book was the Howard Pyle quote. It says, throw your heart into the picture and then jump in after it. We should be loving the thing that we're doing. If you're taking your time out to do this thing, that's your time. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, do the thing that you want to do in your time. Yeah. Unless it's a commission, which sometimes can not be something you want to do.
I know. I hear from Casey Bog.
Yeah, Casey Bog.
He was telling something like that. He got a commission for a painting and he was like, I don't want to do that. Like, another dose. I'm busy doing this because he's busy, He's a for painter. An amazing dude, man. Super nice person. And he did something similar to your job in Ralph Lauren. He said like, I gotta charge this much, just for them to say like no, and they say okay, do it. Probably you should charge a little more because this collector is particular. Backfire. He want an order like he's paying for what
Well, I do think also you brought up a good point too. Is that what can happen, and this happens in schools too, is like, if you're not following what you want to do and then you do the painting and then you show it to somebody and then somebody buys it, or a gallery setting, and then somebody wants another one like that and you didn't want to do them, you may open up a can of worms where you're going to do a lot of them now and you didn't want to paint lemons in a silver bowl or something.
I know that, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like when you struggle, like if you're young and you're starting, it's like whatever, okay, I adapt to whatever, kind of, right?
Yeah.
More when you're still trying to find who you are, or what really pleases you or not, because when you're young, you feel like, I want to make a lot of money. I want to be successful. I want to be rich and have a nice car and whatever people think they want, right? But then when you start becoming older and older, you realize having money, it might not be. Having time is important, or spending quality time with family. So what is important for you change, right? So trying to advise somebody that's young, don't pursue that money. Why you want to make that money? No, be true to yourself. Like, what are you talking about? They pay me for this. I want to do it, right?
Yeah. There's a ton of the psychology of it too.
It's super complicated. For tattoo artists, for example, when you first start tattooing, At least that happened to me, and I'm sure it happened to many, many other of my friends or people that I know and other artists in the world. Um, you have to do a little bit of everything, right? More like back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's different. You know, it's Instagram. It's a lot of like globalization, so it's easier for you to say like, I like this, I gotta do this, and try to learn that process and become a tattoo artist right away doing that you like, right? For me, at least, let's say for me, it was like I need to make a living. I was broke.
Yep.
I was still doing construction. I still wanted to be a painter, but I just started showing in galleries back then.
Yeah.
2008, 2007. So I was like, okay, I sold a couple of my paintings. People like them.
Yeah.
I might go somewhere else, right? I was getting a couple of interviews in newspaper, stuff like that, right? But I wasn't really making money enough to pay my bills.
Yeah.
So I make money, but I earn so much money that it was disappeared on my hand before even I touch it.
Yeah.
And then I became somebody offered me I was doing some tattoos now and then, right? In the side, just to buy my painting materials. And then somebody offered me a job. So I went and started working in this tattoo shop. And I was the do it all, right? Like, okay, this person want a tribal, I do it. This person want I do it. I was taking everything that comes in the door, right?
Yeah.
But in that moment, I wasn't planning to become a tattoo artist. I never really planned it. It was a happy, super happy accident. I'm so blessed it happened to me. But the point was that in all the search for opportunities to become stable in my life, tattooing shows up, right? So when that door's open, I was finally seeing some money. Now, like the Ralph Lauren experience for you was Ralph Lauren, right?
Yeah.
Now I got money, so now I can sit and plan.
Yep.
What I gotta do? What should I do? What should I do? Right now, I can buy materials to paint, better quality materials now, better brushes, better everything. I was pursuing to be a painter, but having the money there, and I was not going to say no to a tribal. So now I became more like a realistic tattoo artist, right? I specialize on how I'm doing realism, and I do mostly black and gray, even though I love colors, but I don't do so often. And I say now, no, I don't do tribals. I don't do letterings. I don't do these other tattoos.
Now you do what you want.
It's not because but it's just that's something that doesn't please me to do anymore, right?
Yeah.
It becomes super boring to me to do. So now I'm blessed enough to have the great opportunity to go and do tattoos every day of things that I want to do, right?
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
And for me right now, it would be very hard that somebody comes and tell me, oh, but do everything. Who cares about being true to yourself? Just do everything because you got to make money or whatever. Thanks God, I don't need it, right? Knocking good. I don't need it. But I can understand from somebody that's just starting to tell them as an advice, do everything, make the money. But it's very problematic in my own mind to say to somebody, do everything, make the money. But what I try to teach people is that what kind of artist you want to be. You want to be a realistic tattoo artist? Awesome. Do tons of drawings. But nothing gonna make you good as practice does. You have to practice your craft. So when you're just learning, don't see as I have to do a name. I have to do a little tattoo. I want to do a sleeve. You have to get all of those out of the way. Not just because you're selling out. It's just because you need to understand the techniques. And all of those simple tattoos require precision. They require. It's not because it's small you can do it different. You have to still do the same things, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good practice to get super used to the equipment, right?
Yep. It's also, you don't know what you don't want to do yet.
More when you're learning, you don't really know.
So do it all and then start to weed it out, which is sometimes why it's good to just jump into the pool, then figure out if you're in the shallow end or the deep end. So
I'm very pleased that I have lined up quite a few tattoo artist friends too, because I want to pick in the brain. Some of them are very well known tattoo artists, super nice people, super amazing artists. I learned so much from them before I was a tattoo artist. Some of them are a lot younger than me, but they were kind of prodigy of this stuff, right?
Yep.
So whatever you say. So I'm so excited to pick on the brains to what should be the best approach to teach somebody or to ask somebody to learn, right? The old school ways to learn tattooing in tattoo shops, it will be like you come, you clean my shop for 2 years, and then I let you tattoo an orange. Some people still defend that. I don't really defend it too much, but I feel, there are ways that you have to earn the craft. And
it's called hazing, right?
Yeah. But can you imagine that you already went struggling with Jacob for like a year because it's like 8 to 5 to just do, or before the hair with the other lady that you mentioned, I lost her name, sorry.
Max?
Annie, what was the name of
Max Ginsberg?
No, the one that took you in the cast class. Cammy.
Yeah.
I thought it was Amy, sorry. Cammy. That you were like, okay, I got to do this drawing in a couple of weeks. And she's like, no, it takes like 3 months to finish the drawing. You were like, what? It's like, what? You know? So everything has the process to do, right? But yeah, no, I'm excited to pick the brain also tattoo artists to know, But from the point of view of paint, because I moved to America and I knew I wanted to paint. I just didn't know what to do. Yeah. What should I do? I know what I like to paint, and I was doing just that.
Well, it's so difficult.
I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah. Even if you do know what you want to do and it's from your heart and in just you, there's still like the business side of it, how to actually make a living or get it in front of people that could possibly buy it.
Definitely. So it's super complicated. Okay, but so you got into the second gallery now, right?
Yeah, so Ray's gallery was about 2013.
That's the one that you are still with?
Yeah, they were amazing.
Yeah, Ray's, right?
And it was a total shift. It was...
They're in Manhattan, right? They're in the city.
They're 5 East 57th Street, right by Central Park. And
in case somebody want to go and check some of Casey works there.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that Ralph Lauren was 2 blocks up. So when I was at Ralph Lauren, I would go there every day. And they were like, Todd's here again. And I was really just kind of trying to understand it. And the other good thing about them...
Were you already showing with them in that moment?
In 2013, I had emailed them. A buddy of mine who was a tattoo artist in the East Village, Rodney Davis, was showing in group shows with them. And I went to the show and I said, is it a good gallery? He said, dude, I think if they'd be perfect for you. And I said, all right. So I emailed them. I put my portfolio together or email PDF. And then I said, I'd love to come in and show you some work. Here's what I have available, blah, blah, blah. Here's my CV. Here's what I've done. I show a Cavalier. Howard, the gallery owner, basically called me up and he said, we're in Florida right now. I'd love to have you come in and see your work. And it was a total shift because when I worked with Cavalier Gallery, Cavalier was like, Ron Cavalier is very business. He was kind of like, thanks, man. Keep painting. See ya. And it was like I had gone all the way to Nantucket, and that's what he said. And then, then we enjoyed the island, which is a beautiful island. For Ray's Gallery, when they said, we want to meet you, they said, come in and bring your painting and show us what you got. So when I walked in the door, everyone stopped what they were doing, and they brought me into a room, and they all sat around. It was a family of them. There was the mother, Amy, the dad, who was Howard, the son, Lance, and the daughter, Alyssa. And they all stopped what they were doing. And they all came in, and I was just kind of like, it's the Todd show, I guess. And then they were like, can you put your work up? And then we just talked for like an hour. And I thought, such a contrast of what I had over here with Cavalier that they're really interested in, which is what I want. I want relationships with people that I can talk to them openly about how I feel or how they feel, what's selling, what's not selling, what they think of this painting, can they sell it or not. I don't want to waste people's time too in business. So, but I also wanted more than just business. I wanted like a relationship with the gallery, and that's what they've become. They've become like a second family now, and that's why I would go over every other day and talk to them, and we'd talk about everything. We'd talk about American Art Collector or any of the shows that they're going to, or like what I was thinking of doing, and they were really interested. And they still are. They came and visited last Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're an awesome family, and that's really when that first day Howard bought one of the paintings I brought in, which was like a frog in a jar. And he was kind of like, the only person that would buy this is probably I say, a man, and they would put it in their studio, kind of like what you have here. And that's what he did. So he bought it and he put it in his study or studio at home, where he works out of. And then he took like 3 or 4 more paintings, and in that first week he sold 2 more. And I thought, how fantastic!
Wow,
selling paintings finally. And he basically said that, it's not, you shouldn't really be in Cavalier and us. They are literally right next to us. They were across the street from them. And he said it would help if, you're in one or the other. He wasn't trying to be pushy at all.
But that is a normal way for galleries to be. Like, okay, you can show my gallery, but you cannot show any other gallery in 10 miles or
right.
5 miles or 2 towns or whatever it is.
Or in the States.
United States. Or,
Well,
state. Yeah. That
depends on, some of them are specific as like you are only show with us in the United States or something like that. For Rays, they were just kind of like, Cavalier's a little too close to us. They're right there. If you look out the window, you can see it. So I said, cool. And then I pulled all my paintings out of Cavalier and then brought them over. And then
do you have like a contract that you have to stay with them for a certain time or something? Or
some people do.
I know. I heard that too.
Yeah, don't ever. Advice to anyone listening: don't ever do that.
No, you advise them because you have the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people have done it. A friend of mine did it, and it's like if the gallery is going to make that commitment to you, I would ask for money if you're going to do it, because it's like if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket and then they don't sell, it's consignment. So it's not like consignment means that they're taking the painting and hoping to sell it, but if not, it goes right back to you, and they didn't, no transaction, they didn't buy it. So if it's just all in consignment and they're not giving you money up front to be solo with them, you could cripple yourself by not being able to do anything else.
Definitely.
And I know people that have done that are just stuck in a contract for 4 years, and then when they're done, they're bitter, and then you're gonna make more connections.
Definitely. And if they weren't selling to start a new connection, I was 4 years, didn't sell anything. I want to start with you. People are gonna be like, no.
Yeah, what did you do the last 4 years?
What would I take you here if you're not selling? Probably could
well,
be.
That's actually the way that galleries like to think. They want to be like, what's your selling history? Some of them actually want to know the names. Not that you have to share it, but they want to know that you have a market of collectors already, and that they can help build you as well. And a good gallery, which is what Howard and I talk about all the time, is going to advertise you, and that's why they're going to be taking 50-50 or whatever most galleries do 50-50. But if they're going to do it, they should be promoting you all the time, and that's why they're going to get 50-50,
Definitely. And they put you into collectors, not just put it in the wall and expect somebody to walk in and try to sell it to that person that probably will never come back or hear your name, but rather a collector that would also increase the value somehow of your product. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's a secondary market after, which is like when it goes back into auction and stuff like that, which is another part of the art world. But definitely, Rays was the best part of my career in talking to them and understanding just the way it all worked. And then that's when I first did a drink painting. I did a drink painting. I did my favorite drink, which was a sidecar. It's kind of like a brandy margarita. You put brandy in.
A brandy margarita?
Yeah, instead of putting tequila, you put brandy in.
Damn, that would kill me.
I know.
High blood pressure.
Strong, man.
Blow my brain.
But it's called a sidecar. It's a drink from like the 1920s. And I was like, I was always asking myself, like, if I were true to myself, what's my favorite drink? Why don't I paint that? So I did it, and then I showed them a little study, and that sold that first time.
That was like a suggest of them or you decide one day, like, what I paint today?
Yeah, what it was is like,
let me say this simple still life with just one subject. What should it be?
Yeah, because one of the things I wanted to do was get that max side out of me, the direct side. And it was like, I could paint lemons and limes and oranges and plums.
Sorry. Where were you at that moment, right, in your career, 2013? Yep. So you were like 3 years since you quit until that point. You were doing paintings. You were already with Maxwell. What is the name? No.
Rays.
The other one?
I was Cavalier.
Cavalier.
Yeah.
So you were already with Cavalier, then you start talking to them. So all this time, were you doing mostly like still life
Yeah.
that were done several sessions with the drawing, transfer, and pros?
Yep.
Or you were doing a lot of those quick a la primas, both or more that?
More indirect. It's a good question too. I started to paint with Travis Schlott as well. And Travis was somewhere between Max and Jacob. He studied with Jacob. And he was like absolutely gorgeous paintings. And mark making was very important to him. And same with Max, where you can kind of see the brushstrokes and they're expressive. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I was doing all indirect. And I thought, I have all that experience with Max. And I just haven't figured out how to do an awesome painting. I could do head studies and portraits with him. But I wasn't taking it and putting it into the still life. I was doing all indirect at the time. Mm-hmm. And I thought, let's try to put them together. And Travis was the good bridge between the two, because he was like, he studied with Jacob, but he was doing more of like a direct approach. And that's when the drink paintings were like, how do I figure it out? So instead of doing lemons and limes and oranges and plums and peaches and fruit, right? Mm-hmm. The typical Saison still life or something, apples. I thought, what's my purple cow? How can I make it a little bit different? Well, I like to have a drink. And drinks always come with a cool varnish. A garnish, not a varnish. You don't want varnish in your drink. A garnish of like a lemon, a lime, or something like that. So I thought, instead of painting what I sometimes consider as like typical still life art, I'll spice it up by making it a drink.
Definitely, man.
And that's what I did.
It's cool that you mention it with words, and maybe because in your work so much, but at the same time, I can catch, like, if I was trying to think about a subject to paint, right? It's a great idea. You get a glass that might be a cup or whatever. Glass might be transparent, might be glassy, might be a colored drink. So you're already exploring all these kind of interesting things visually, right?
Yep.
And then the garnish. Maybe you put a celery in it. Maybe you put a lemon next to it.
Right.
Maybe so you are in the other color, the other. So it already sounds interesting.
Well, I was in the restaurant industry too, and a lot of the time I was almost a bartender at the Plaza Hotel. The reason why I didn't do it was because it was unionized, and I would have had to lose my position as a waiter to get hired over here, and then I was going to get let go after the Christmas season, and then I'd have to come back over here. Now, in the corporate or the union ladder, if you're at the bottom, you don't get any shifts. You're the guy cleaning the tattoo shop for 2 years, and hopefully you can pierce an orange, right? So I didn't do it, but I always thought like I would love to be a mixologist or something, like making drinks for people. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely that influence of like the food world making it into my drinks, which is why I think all these fun stories and this serendipitous weird adventures I've had, they all make it into my work. They're always like a part, you know? And that's where, I was like, well, garnishes are always a fruit, right? Or an olive or something. And there's always a cool color of like a liquid and a glass. Mm-hmm. So I can figure a lot out by just doing a bunch of these paintings. And I was trying to knock them out in 1 day in 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So I come home from Polo. I do the drawing really quickly. I do a quick grisaille. We'd eat dinner. Gina would go to bed at 9 o'clock and I'd paint till midnight.
I know.
Yeah. And I just made it happen. And a lot of people were like, where do you find the time to do this? And I was like, I don't watch TV. Like, I'm not going to go home and watch TV. I'm going to go home and paint.
Definitely.
And then every day for 3 hours, at the end of the week, I had, let's say 3 hours times 7 days. It's 21 hours. I can get a lot done.
Definitely.
And that's when like the drink world kind of opened up and I had a show of drink paintings. I actually just finished a book.
Oh yeah? You're doing a second one?
I did a book called, it's coming out next year, which is drink paintings and recipes. I did 60 paintings. Well, I did 35 paintings. There's 60 in the book. But the interesting thing about this book, The Art of Still Life, was that the editor that I was the editor that was assigned to me wrote a book called Mixology.
Oh, wow.
And he sold, I think, 80,000 copies of it. So when I found that out, when we were editing together, because we would talk on the phone every week for like 3 or 4 hours, and we were talking about one of the drinks in there, and he said, I think you used the wrong glass. And he's like, I wrote a book on it. And I said, you're probably right. And then I basically said, his name is James Waller. I said, James, your drinkology book is amazing. Like, do you want to do a book of my paintings and your recipes? And he said, yeah, let's do it.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, so we did it. After this book was done, then we got a agent and we shopped it. And I just handed it in May 7th.
How many paintings?
60 paintings in the book and 35 new ones.
paintings?
Yeah. So it was awesome because I was able to be like...
So 60 different drinks?
Yeah.
Wow, man. I got to get my hands on that.
Yeah, I'll get you a copy once it comes out. So yeah, it's kind of like I'm always open to any opportunity. And when that just came about, I was like, how the heck did they put me? How is it that my editor is a writer for drinks and that's what I do? So I think sometimes opportunities are there and doors open where, like, for others, perhaps there could have been walls.
Causality, right? Like
Yeah.
the name of my shop.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's not just an accident. Things happen.
No.
It's a series of events, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I've done really well with the drink paintings, and I love doing them.
Amazing, man. They're super amazing.
Thanks, man. I actually go
I need
through
one
like a
of those.
love hate.
I'm gonna get one of those someday, definitely.
Well, let me know. I go through a love hate with them. So what happened with the last show I was in 2017? That's when I quit polo, and then I was like, I'm doing it. I'm going full-time artist. And at that time, I was like, I'm gonna be broke again, and I signed up to be an Uber driver because I was like, I'm not gonna make money, so I need to have something ready.
2017?
Yeah.
Weren't you selling a steady yet?
I was, but it's still hard because the tough thing with selling artwork is that a painting sells. You don't know if it's going to be every month. Maybe you're going to sell 5 one month. You're not going to sell for 6 months.
Definitely.
And wanted to consider insurance also at the time. And Gina was still at Polo, and I was just kind of like, well, I need to do something. She can't pay the mortgage, and I have nothing to offer until I sell a painting every once in a while. Anyway, I didn't become an Uber driver. I went and applied, and then I just got the balls to say fuck it, and and then I just went full time into like teaching, and that's when the book kind of came out of it, which was like at the time I was now teaching for like 5 years.
Were you teaching out of a school?
Not really. It was more of like there was a small
studio?
group. Yeah, a small group of people. And they all had a ton of questions. And I thought perhaps my voice could be valid or helpful because I'm bringing the direct and the indirect together and not just one. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to say that there are kind of two ways to do the same thing. And I learned it this way. But no matter what it is, you have to learn all these rules. Well, not rules, but all the same fundamentals.
Fundamentals.
You have to understand perspective, light, composition, form, color, drawing, all the fundamentals. Definitely. So, yeah. So 2017, I had a show called Skin and Tonic, and it was like drink paintings, and it was a 2-man show with this guy David Palumbo, who's a awesome illustrator and painter, and I did 50 drink paintings. Wow. Yeah, it was a lot. I was so burnt.
What year?
2017.
Oh, the same year, that year.
So I was so burnt of doing drink paintings. I just didn't know if I wanted to do any more. But then you just need a little time. And then when this project came about and I proposed it and then we shopped it, I was still like, man, I'm going to hate doing drink paintings by the end of this thing. But I worked with a writer because I didn't write. James Waller wrote the intro, and then we worked with another writer, Christine Sismondo from Canada. She's up in Toronto, and she was just fantastic. All these fun little stories to go with the cocktail recipes. Oh, but it opened up this world again of just, it's almost like your tribal tattoos. But for me, I was like, oh God, another freaking drink painting. But it now opened up a world where I was like, wait, there's so much more here.
Yeah, but no. I would say it's more about my realistic paint tattooing. Meaning, I love tattooing, man. I tattoo 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I got a tattoo 4 days a week, but I book the other
You do
days too.
6.
I always
That's awesome.
book the other days too. But the point is that people ask me, man, you don't get tired just do everything? No, like every morning I'm super excited of what I have to do today. Yeah, man, it's super exciting. I'm blessed, right? But there is certain moments that I feel like, fuck, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't like tattooing when by the middle of the session, I feel like I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired. And then my brain is like, I need to finish this. And I never like to, because most of the time I'm thinking, oh my God, this looks so cool. I have to do this. I have to do that, right? Now, look at this. Oh yeah, I have to go a little dark. I'm thinking about the process. I'm talking to my client. We're watching TV or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super entertaining, right? I don't like to think, what I need to finish. I still need to do this area to finish. I don't like to think that way. So when I get to that process, I never feel like I hate tattooing. Never. Thanks God. I never get to feel that way. I just feel like, okay, I need to breathe. I need to rest.
Yeah.
And even though I feel like I don't need to rest, I'm confused. I know my body knows I need to rest. In my mind, I need to rest.
Yeah.
So then I go take a couple of days off and I'm like, I wish I was tattooing, but I'm doing here.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what happened with the painting. Yeah, you did so many of those cocktail paintings that you probably were like, oh my gosh, too many.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you hate them. Probably, I'm just trying to assume. It's just that you needed a little break. Then you go look somewhere else, do a little bit of this or that, and then you go back to them and you're like, no, I like those. I like them. They're
absolutely.
And
yeah,
now,
you're absolutely right.
adding all of this that cocktail mixing process and stories about it and all of that, collaborating with other people about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
No, you're exactly right. And in that I didn't hate it. At the time, I was like, I can't do another one. The other thing that was happening at the time was as I was bringing the paintings into the gallery, they were selling them.
Yeah, I would say tribal tattoos, in you trying to compare, it would be like, yeah, let's do one more year of cash drawings.
Yeah.
You would be like, fuck no.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be the tribal tattooing for me.
Yeah.
It's going back to that process that is tedious, that you appreciate because it helped you so much to learn.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go back to have to do that for a full year every day, 8 to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad it's out of style, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, in your case, you're glad that gallery is not telling you, we need some of those cast drawings. Keep bringing them over.
Well, they were. So that's actually what the problem was that they wanted 50. They had put it in like the press release that I was going to have 50 drink paintings. They were selling them at the same time I was bringing them in. So I think I did like 70. So the problem was,
good, but
it was a great problem to have.
It's a great problem to have.
But I did need a break. Now, by the time this book came around, I was kind of like, I'm going to be so sick of it by the end of it again, because I was like, tight deadline. I had to do all these in 3 months, 35 paintings, stupid.
I know.
And I thought, man, I'm going to hate it. But the thing with the way I was looking at cocktails was from like, an amateur, like, I don't know a lot about mixology, and I was researching a little bit, but now you brought in the big dogs that write about it, and they brought another new spark to it, because it was like very specific with their garnishes and glassware and things like that. So my gallery was always like I'd sell a Bloody Mary in like a second if I gave it to them. I've sold 6 of them or 7 of them so far. And the same thing with dirty martinis. I think I've done 5 of them. So they were always like, here's the list of the ones you can always keep doing. And I was like, that's so boring. But I'll probably give you one every once in a while when I want to do them. But I'm not going to just sit and give you 12 Bloody Mary paintings.
Definitely good.
So what happened was when they came together with this list of drinks I'd never even freaking heard of that had all this like significance of like a pisco sour or something like that.
Going back to our friend from Peru, right?
Yeah. I just thought like,
I love them, man.
Oh, beautiful drink too. And just the historical side of all the drinks. So I learned a lot, like a Pousse Cafe, which is this crazy layered colored drink. Mm-hmm. And researching and putting them together and then working with them to kind of like talk about them. Just, it opened up a new, like, I loved it. At the end of it, I was like, the project's over. I can't believe I did it because it was like a marathon. But I learned so much, and I would
say like 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months.
35 paintings.
35 paintings.
and you're also doing your teaching and doing
Yeah.
your other project for the gallery,
Had a 2.5-year-old baby.
and you have your kid, and
Yeah.
you live in the new city now.
Yep.
And,
Yeah. So, but I did it, and it was all about rationing my time to make sure, like, okay, I need to do 3 a week. I think it was 3 a week, and if I stay at that pace, I'll be fine. I ended up getting an extension of a month, so I was supposed to have 2 months to do 35 paintings, and then I got an extension. So anyway, I love them. At the end, I love the project, and when we all spoke as a group over Zoom, we did like a quick little session, and I was like, I'd do another book with you guys. This is sweet. It just brings it's that curiosity that kind of brings something new to it, where you're like, I never thought of it this way, or like
you might get now a call from somebody else, like, I don't know, a gun collector.
Yeah.
Guns collectors. Let's do a bunch of guns, for example. I don't know. I'm just
that could be,
thinking
yeah,
stuff. Who knows,
yeah,
right?
vintage guns or something, or vintage knives, or
So if we go a little bit back, and I don't think this, but I don't want people to think it, so I want to try to clarify through your words. We were talking about being true to yourself and don't sell out, whatever.
Mhm.
People might think for a quick second, if you were doing more of those cocktail drinks, you were selling out because you were tired and you were doing it just for the money. I don't think so. Please don't think that I'm saying that.
No. I get it.
I just don't want people to think that way, right?
Yeah.
And again, what would be your word for that, rather than me trying to put words?
I would say, you want to be smart about your business. And if you do want to keep selling artwork, that should be considered as well. Hopefully, a big hope there is that it overlaps with the things that you want to do. So putting things out there that are important to you, I think, are the most important thing I could say. I did the drink paintings. I brought them to Ray's Gallery. They never asked me for them. They wanted more of them because they sold, which is what their job is, to be a business. I just needed a break, like you said. It's not that I ever fell out of love with it or I hated it.
You weren't doing it also since the beginning because the money. You were doing it because you felt attracted to the idea. You were looking for something kind of a la prima that give you the opportunity to do a quick painting in a couple hours after you.
And I'm so bored with the same old look of paintings. I was like, there's a lot of people that do beautiful paintings, but they're just doing. A lot of people all look the same, and it's not that I didn't want to look like everyone. It was just kind of like, how can I do this that fits my interest as well? And drinks to me were like, everyone knows I want to have a good drink with them.
Definitely, man.
Surprised we're not having a drink right now.
I know, man.
One of these times. Yeah. Once you get
again, it's my very first time doing.
That's probably why you should have had one.
I'm so scared of. I hope this thing is recording. I hope the voice is getting recorded, or the sound, or the camera.
If it's
I'm thinking about all of that, trying to don't freak out. If it's so. Again, I want to try to keep my brain the more clear possible through the process.
Yeah.
I'm not used to also sit and talk for long time or anything. Always doing something over food, over drinks, over and all of those are options. Maybe next time we bring some empanadas.
I would love to try. Yeah, no, your food's amazing.
Or drinks like the guarapita. You have to try that, man.
It's
alcoholic drinks. So we can
that's
talk
where
about that.
It's like there's so much in the historical, like cultural side too, and that's where it's like Christine, the writer, was like, here's some prohibition drinks. Here's the first. Ooh. We had a drink that was like the first female drink. So it's like you bring an interesting wide audience when you start to bring it into it. Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting book to look at, man, to read and check.
Yeah. And then some of the names are funny. There's a drink called the Hanky Panky, But, when it comes to that, I brought that to them. So I wouldn't say that's really selling out. I would say that selling out to me would be if they said, give me 20 more Bloody Marys, and I was like, I'll give you 30. That would be like.
Or they said to you, yeah, we love you, cocktail drinks, but right now flowers are selling. Let's go back to the example of flowers. I don't hate flowers. I love flowers. I got plenty of flowers tattooed on me.
Yeah.
Flowers and birds. I got plenty. I love them. I'm just saying as an example, right? And I love tattooing them too all the time.
Yeah.
But let's say, for example, they come to you, say like, those are not selling. Bring some flower. Let's try it. And you're like, okay, let me do some flower for you. Yeah. And you're at home like, I hate flowers, but I gotta do this flower. Probably I gotta do it as a tramp.
Begrudgingly.
Just to get them out of the way, just for them, whatever. that would be a sellout, definitely. But
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like I don't know. I try not to call anyone a sellout because it's like I don't know what people are going through.
definitely.
You know, I don't know. I think it was Common that said, "How am I to judge one's perspective in a song?" Like, well, I don't know. I don't know if you have a big bill you got to pay. I mean, I was there. Did I sell out by going to Polo for a year? I don't think so.
Yeah, sellout is a very easy use expression. That you're right. I don't even know what I'm using it because I completely agree.
No, I hear it all the time.
I did so many things that
Yeah, right. Like, was construction
they
selling
kind of
out?
make me proud right now. I have done it.
Yeah.
In that moment, I wasn't so proud of doing it, but I have to do it. That doesn't
Right.
sell out. You have to do what you have to do, man.
I think at the end of the day, if like you made you and your family and the loved ones happy and you were able to provide, then it doesn't matter.
Definitely.
You know, I mean, we live in a time now where like my great grandmother worked in the mills in Lowell, you know, and so it's like she didn't have an option.
Mm-hmm.
We have the option to kind of do things now, which is a beautiful time. And wherever people are, everyone's at a different stage. It's like, I don't know.
And at the end of the day, man, again, sell out is way too easy to use the expression.
Yeah.
Or people give it too much meaning that what it should have. I would any day, man, sell out myself. If that's an expression, sell out myself. I don't know. Sell myself out.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah, there you go.
And do tribals that having to go back to do construction again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have nothing against the people who do construction. I just say from my feelings, right? Talking
Same
about
here.
my feelings.
Same here.
So definitely, you have your kid, right? Daughter, right? A daughter?
Yeah, 2.5-year-old.
And your wife and your house and your mortgage and all of that, right? If God forbid you have to do a bunch of
Uber. I was going to do Uber.
no, but let's say paintings. Something that you don't like to paint, but you have to do it just because somebody gonna requested it, a commission or whatever, and pay you bills.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
Some people might say you're a sellout. That happen a lot to musicians.
I know.
Some musicians like everybody loves them, but nobody knows them. And as soon as they become mainstream in the radio, everybody hates them. They're a sellout. They're in the radio. What the fuck? They're doing what they do, you know.
As long as that's the thing. And it's like, I think Pearl Jam always said it too, is like, they don't want to just make the same album over. They know they'd sell millions of copies, but there's a plethora of exploration in what they're doing. That some of the albums were great and some of them are okay and some of them are just weird.
Yeah.
But as artists, you just need to go down the road to see if you want to do it.
Definitely, man.
I think Rumi has Rumi the poet,
No.
the mystical poet. Follow your heart; it knows the way. You know, like that's I don't know. Just follow whatever it is that you want to do, and if it's a dead end road, you'll go back around and find a way out of it.
So when that book gonna be out?
Well, I have another book coming out called
But the mixy drinks,
the cocktail book.
the cocktail books.
April 2022.
April, so in a year from now.
Yeah, I'll bring you one. I'll bring you a drink too, and we'll have one.
You bring the book and then buy the drinks.
Yeah, we'll do a cocktail party.
Definitely. No, I'm really. I want people to see it, man, because I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. But I'm super curious about it.
Yeah,
because I like buying books. I always buy also paint art books. Let's say painters that I like their work. I buy the books, but I would say in my case, 80% out of 100, 80 out of 100 times, I buy books about artists when you see the paintings and you might read a little bit about the story about what is going on in the painting, but most of the time it's technical stuff, right? Or not even. You just see photograph of paintings and then you read biographies about the time when the artist did that, right? But thinking about pretty much I'm buying a cocktails book illustrated by an artist.
Yeah.
Kind of, right? But the way how I see it is a great artist book of his cocktail explaining by somebody else what the paintings are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? It's interesting that it's not just a book about paintings.
Yeah.
Or it's not just a book about cocktails or mixed drinks or whatever. It's a book about they're both together.
Yeah.
Intentionally plan it that way. And,
Yeah.
and that's what I feel so interested about checking it out.
Yeah, it should be fun. I mean, one of the interesting things that my wife said early in my career, because I was coming from like a very fun caricature animation style, and then there was like the still lifes, which were contemplative and
More rigid.
yeah, and just really like thought out, And I said like, what do you think of this? Because I'm a goofy guy and I'm joking around all the time, and I was like, which one do you think expresses my personality? Which I think both of them kind of do, because I'm definitely into philosophy and reading and stuff like that. And then I'm also into like cartoons and comic books and having fun. And she said, I think, some of that fun, whimsical stuff would be nice to see in art.
What?
The fun, whimsical stuff would be nice to see as paintings.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was doing caricatures or something wacky. And that's actually when I started to think about the words that she said and bring in some of the Day of the Dead stuff. Because I thought, this is fun. It doesn't always have to be so like, that's a bowl of fruit and it's like the creation of man or something. It's kind of like, why can't you just celebrate a drink? Like, why can't it just be a beautiful thing, or put like a little fun toy in it or something like that? And that's when I began to think like I could take all of my interests and personalities and put them in my art and let them kind of live in a little world together and bring them together.
So cool, man. So cool.
And that's the funny thing is that people either love the Day of the Dead stuff, or a few people are just like, I'm
But
not
you
a big
cannot
fan.
please everybody, right?
Yeah.
You please yourself, and luckily some people are gonna be attracted to that, right?
Yeah.
But
And that's gives me the ability to tell stories and have fun with them.
either way, if everybody loves them, everybody would want one. Still, you cannot do it all. So
No, and I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to be so loved that so everybody wanted a painting, because there's a beauty, there's a blessing and a curse to everything. And it's like if you're wildly popular, you're gonna have a lot of work all the time. But that downtime sometimes is where I'm like, I get to work on my project. Like right now, I wrote another book on color, and then I did that book for the cocktail book, and now I finally have time to be like, I can paint whatever the fuck I want now.
cool, man.
Which is a beautiful thing, because now I can just say like, whether or not this thing sells or not, I don't really care. Maybe I have an outlet for it, maybe not. Howard will always take and try to sell it, whatever it is, my interest. But then there's also the cocktail stuff, which I know will sell, and it is of my interest too. So, so yeah, it's always like a lot of thinking and all this stuff.
Cool, man. So you're still with Rapes?
Raise, yeah.
Rave?
REHS.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
And doing the books. Oh, the teaching. You're still teaching, right?
Yeah, I do a ton of teaching.
You do, but you have like a group of students that they hire. They
Get together.
They get together, and you have a organized, like, okay, this is gonna last 3 months. You gotta learn this during 3 months. That's how it works.
Yeah, with coronavirus, it got a little different. So
yes.
I had a group up until about 2017, 18. And then, before coronavirus, since then, I was doing a few privates. I would have a couple students that would come once a week.
All of this in your house? Your studio?
Yeah, just my house. And then since then, coronavirus, I ended up pushing it all online, and now I do everything through Zoom.
Cool.
And I teach a still life class, which has anywhere between 15 and 20 students. And then we just do projects where we work on like one painting over a month, and then I give them critiques where I'll record them on my computer and then give them to them, me painting over them, and then Photoshop. So again, the Photoshop thing from Polo came back, and a lot of people who take the class and then they get my feedback are always like, that's awesome. You're so good at Photoshop that you can just do this thing really quickly to show a concept. And I'm like, thanks, Polo.
Thanks.
Like, thanks.
Definitely, man.
But yeah, so I do that. And then I'm teaching an online workshop right now of the color wheel, the one that I was taught from Carlos, extended from Michael Aviano. And I'll probably do a few more things, but I'm also now that the world just opened back up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be doing a bunch of workshops throughout the United States. I got one planned in Seattle, one in San Francisco. I think another one in Connecticut here in Weathersfield.
Mm-hmm. Cool, man.
And then sometimes I teach workshops at the Art Students League when they respond to emails and say yes to them.
Maybe we do another one in the
I'd
shop
love to
in
do
the
it,
future,
man. Yeah, that's great.
Fun.
Well, and we
More
did it
organized.
before we did it because you found me, I think, on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, you're not far. You're in Norwalk. I was in Cortland. Now I'm in Connecticut. So it's even closer. I'm like 20 minutes up the street, by the way. So you did it before. I was, not that I'm anything now, but before I wrote the book has got me a lot of interest.
Awesome.
But now it's like we could probably sell it out. Not that you would
No,
want to
definitely,
keep it nice and small. I think it was awesome last time.
Yes. No, definitely, man.
I'd totally do it. I love workshops. I love working with people. I love helping and putting a smile on someone's face because they just go like, wow, you really helped me kind of unlock something that I just didn't get before, you know?
Definitely. You know, something that is fun out of that day I realized I need glasses. So, what are my glasses now?
Yeah, they're not in your head.
That day, my nephew was like, Javi, try my glasses. I was, dude, I just got tested for my eyes. They say I'm okay. Just try it. And I put it on, man. It was so insane. I was like, whoa. Like, literally, I was like, whoa. And it's that I was able to see the texture of the canvas and the brush strokes that I don't know since when I lost them. And you always think that, it happened to me at least. I always thought I was seeing right until I put on his glasses. And his glasses were just like reading glasses, like 1.5 or 1.25 or something like that. And it was such a clarity, man. I saw the texture of the canvas, brush strokes. Everything was like, whoa.
That's awesome.
Since that day, I went and bought a bunch of glasses. I have it everywhere around now. But I use them to tattoo, man. Just I can see everything much clearer,
amazing.
Much better, man. It's
the eye degenerates after the age of 40. I worked with one of my students is a retired ophthalmologist. And we were talking about, she wanted to bring up a couple of things. She's like, maybe they'll make it in the book, maybe not. And just how our lenses flatten out a little bit and also get more, I think, yellow over time. So it's going to affect the way that we see everything.
The glasses self change color?
No. Oh. Actually, in our eye is a lens. Yeah.
The lens of our eye, you mean? Okay.
Yeah. Actually, it doesn't flatten out. It becomes denser. And the density of it changes the way that you see everything, the way that light enters your eye, which is crazy.
I know.
And yellow. Just imagine if you had yellow over your glasses right now, and then you'd see everything through that. It's going to change the way you see color.
Something that happened to me, but it's the kind of things that you always have to have present, but sometimes you oversee. I was doing this small painting here before this become my, podcast studio. It was my painting studio, this area. And yeah, I like the painting. It was pretty cool, right? And then one day I bring it upstairs to put in the wall to dry up there and see every day, right? And it was super yellow. Everything was orange. I was using those white lights, super white lights.
Yeah.
So you always painting, compensating, right?
Yep.
The pure white light, probably 5,000, 5,500
Kelvin,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you bring it to real light outside, everything is super orange, super.
Wow.
Oh, super, man.
It's also, different aperture too. Like the light is just bigger and more lumen when you're outside. Yeah.
So, man, I think we can call that day, brother.
All right.
Well,
right? Awesome talking with you.
It's the first time. I think my brain is a little tired right now. I don't want to keep you here all the Sunday, man. Go back to your family.
That's all good.
Do you think that I should ask you something that I'm missing, or I interrupt the conversation in a point?
No.
I always try to ask people what I'm not asking you that you have asked you. That is kind of important.
I think we talked about the journey, which is what I think is important. It's at the beginning of my book too, which is, I think that's what people want to hear, is just that it wasn't some easy road. It's not like I just woke up and could draw one day. And there's a lot of interesting, funny stories in the middle.
Definitely. It's not, I don't want everybody to expect in their hearts that they have to be 10 years poor before they can sell a painting.
Yeah.
But also, don't get discouraged if you start to become an artist. You work really is showing progress, but still not selling, but you want to be living out of your art.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged. It doesn't happen very quick. Some things takes time, right? And just keep trying, right?
Yeah.
And be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you hit it and you become a successful artist, meaning somebody that's gonna live out of their art, you wanna be doing things that you love doing every day, because otherwise they're gonna wear you off very, very, very soon, and then you're gonna regret or something, right?
Yeah, I think you'll eventually get to a point where you're just not happy doing the thing anymore, you know, and you may just stop doing it. But the point is to keep doing the thing you want to do, and hopefully it collides with the business side and you can make money from it. Because, you know, there's passion just in doing it, which I know retirees, I get a lot of retirees, people that retired from a job and now they do it just because they want fulfillment in their life because they kind of did the other thing. And there's definitely that side of art, which is just, it'll get it. And I think they can live together, business and that.
So do you have a website?
Yeah, www.toddmcasey.com.
Todd M. Casey, right?
Yep. M for Michael. I'm also on Instagram at Todd M. Casey and Facebook. And I'm on TikTok, but I don't recommend anyone to go on there. It's too much wacky dancing and stuff like that.
It's okay. I got a friend who he was trying very hard to find his ways on Instagram and whatever, and never really worked so well. And then he put himself on TikTok, like experimenting with some drawings. And now he got, I don't know how many millions of followers out of that TikTok, but also his Instagram went from like 8,000 followers to like 2 million followers.
Who is that?
In less than a year. Devon, his name.
Oh, yeah, you know Devon Rodriguez?
Yeah. Oh, you know him?
Yeah.
Awesome kid, man. Awesome.
Well, he was doing those kind of staged drawings on a subway, which is like you look up, you see the person, then bam, and then you look back up. Yeah. And it's like they're so edited.
yeah. But it's super fun that he's doing it, man, and I'm happy for him that
that's fun.
He's finding a way, you know what I mean? So, and he's using TikTok for other things than dancing, right?
Well, I think for sure. And I mean just in general TikTok.
No, I know.
I went on the first time and I signed up and I was like, all right, what's TikTok? And then it was like there was a girl in like a half naked dancing around, and I was like, what the hell did I just sign up? Like, it's just
I know,
weird.
For me, man, TikTok, it's hard to keep up with social media. For me, at least, I don't know, probably I'm getting too old, but I'm always busy. Like even Instagram, man, I just go on Instagram, put a photo, and get out, right?
Yeah. We hope so, right?
I try to not stay too long there. Sometimes I see whatever is in my first couple of drafts to see my friends work, or whoever is in the top who post something and get out. I use it to check. Because of the pandemic, I was checking a lot of messages through my Instagram because the shop was closed for kind of 14 or 12 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was trying to respond people on my emails and also on my Instagram. Keep me entertained too through the pandemic, right? I was sitting home all day long. So, but I try to stay away from. But then they come with a new one and another social media, and you feel like, man, I need it because you have to stay relevant and putting information out there to keep, But I'm busy, man. So like, do I want to start editing new videos and posting new videos? I want to do this or that.
No.
And it's exhausting, man. So I don't know. I feel social media got a lot of pros, right? A lot of good things happening for a lot of people. And definitely make a lot of money for a lot of people too. I'm not gonna talk shit about social media, like
I think
it shouldn't exist. Whatever, it is what it is. It has a lot of demons in it, a lot of bad things going on, but it has a lot of good stuff too. It just, for me, it's exhausting. I just feel like now what I'm trying to do with my life is that around 9 p.m. I turn off my phone. I put it on sleep, the little moon thing there. I don't know if it's sleep mode or something. So I don't use anymore. But when I walk into the house, at least most of the time, I try to put that phone in the other side of the living room, and I go to the other side.
That's what I used to do.
So I can hang, and I put on vibrate, no volume anymore. I took off my watch so I don't receive messages. Most of the time, I try to do it that way.
Yeah.
So I can hang out with Andres. I can talk to my daughter.
Yeah.
I can talk to my wife. We can have dinner together. And before, because you're always so busy, I came home and I start checking for the emails. And then I was trying to check some of the images that I'm going to use next day. And then Andres wanted to talk to me. I was like, okay, give me 5 minutes. I'll finish this and I'm with you. And I realized what I'm doing, man. Like, I work all day
always
long.
busy.
I gotta come home, work all night. So
yeah,
I always thought I cannot stop. If I stop responding the message, if I stop responding to the email, if I stop searching for images, my work gonna suffer. Probably I gotta lose my clients. I was thinking about that, and no, man.
And then you did it, and nothing happened. That's awesome.
Actually, I'm more rested next day. I spend a lot of better time with my family. It's a lot of pros that come out of being disconnected from the phone. I always have the little thing like, what if my mother needs me, need to call me?
Yeah.
And I'm not using my phone, but my wife still has her phone. My daughter has her phone around, so somebody need me, they can reach me.
Yeah, it used to be like a home line to call, which no one ever called, and it was like, oh no, my mom's calling. Oh crap! Hopefully everyone's all right. But
but no, man, definitely. So I'm gonna try to push. I gotta find a way to put your social media when I post this.
Yeah. I'm also on
social
Patreon too.
You're on Patreon too?
Yeah, Patreon's good because it's like it's like a nonchalant way to get some videos and watch videos of me painting. And it's like $12 a month. I post a 20 to 30 minute video every week.
Awesome, man. I've seen some of those videos that you do. On Instagram, you have also great videos, very quick, that you see the kind of process. It's a speed up.
Yeah, it's called time lapse. Yeah,
time lapse. But you see, man, when you suffering to try to do something, and I use some of your videos to help me too with some of my painting when I was still painting. I'm still kind of painting, but not too much time.
We'll paint together.
We will sometime. It will be awesome, man. Definitely. Yeah. But you see it, and either you like, oh, I can do it this way. Let me try it. Then next time you have that in the back of your head, you're trying it.
Yeah.
Or also, I see that video and like, oh my God, I want to paint. Like you get inspired, right? When you see somebody else doing stuff that you like, you get like inspired, right? Sadly, some people like you make it look so easy that then you're like, yeah, I can do a skateboard. I gotta go outside, and then you smack your head in the asphalt and come home sad. But no, yeah, man.
Well, it's all that time too. I think I've got that a bunch too. I do my workshop I'm teaching now. A lot of them are like, I watched your demo. It was awesome. You made it look so easy, and then mine just fell apart.
Yeah.
And it's like, do it 1,000 times. Yeah, do it 1,000 times. For the 1,000th one, you're watching my 10,000th one. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like, it's not particularly fair to
compare yourself in the beginning stage with somebody that's been through a lot of hours doing it. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, even what's interesting about like even baseball players to me was like, are you a Yankees fan or Red Sox or not care?
No cares.
Don't care.
No, I just don't know. Again, I cannot keep memory of movies. I cannot keep memory of names, sport, or anything. I have no basic rules, and that's all, man.
Well, I'm a big Red Sox fan, so David Ortiz of the Red Sox would get to, the games are at 7:00 at night. What time do you think the Red Sox would get to the field to start warming up?
If you ask me, I would say 6, 5, 6.
Wrong. Yeah, and the answer to that is like 12:00.
Oh wow!
And what they're doing is they're just conditioning. They're working all field drills. These are professionals. These are ones that climbed all the way through the ranks. They're still getting to the field and working. Sometimes they get it like 2. Some of them. Mm-hmm. Rarely would they ever get there at like past 5:00. But they're professionals and they already know what they're doing and they can hit a home run in like that. And like they're still getting there and working on the fundamentals every single day. Mm-hmm. And it just always makes me think like we see like the show, but we don't see all the work that all these people put in. Mm-hmm. And I always keep in mind that, I think Larry Bird said that like what drove him was that if he took 1,000 shots, he knew somebody was taking 1,001. Mm-hmm.
I know, man. I always say my driven in life is based on my insecurities,
Yeah.
not in my strength, but in my insecurity. I'm so insecure that I'm always afraid to lose everything.
Yeah.
I don't think about that every day, right? I don't think about, oh, I gotta lose my house, I gotta lose my clients. I don't really think that way, but it's kind of somewhere in the back of my head. And this is something that probably microdosing, psilocybin came more clear to me. I don't know, but
Awesome.
it's something that probably with the age it came. Like when I sit and probably meditating and stuff like that, is when it came to my realization that, oh, I wasn't being so confident. I actually was scared.
Yeah.
I wasn't working when I first started tattooing and I started seeing any money coming in, and now I was like sitting in my couch, like, okay, I got this money. What can I go and buy? Like, that's a stupid thought to have. I know it's very, very immature, but it's true. It happened, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was so much struggling with money before certain period in my life, and then it changed to a point that was with enough money that I pay everything that I own, and I still got some cash left, right? So I was like, can I buy with this money? I should buy something, but I already have a TV. I don't need anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it came to, okay, I don't want to go back to what I was. So now I'm working every day. The tattoo shop opens at 12 in the noon, but the owner goes there. It's also a tattoo artist. Goes there around 8:39 after he dropped his kids in school. I get at that time 2 in the morning, and I start taking walk-ins early in the morning. And we close at 7, and I go home, eat a little bit. I was single, at least in a small apartment by myself. Eat a little bit, do whatever I do, and then sit in the computer and start watching videos to learn how to tattoo. And then I tie my tattoo machine to my pen to have that weight and start doing drawings in paper, just feeling that way.
That's awesome.
Until like 4 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, I was doing every day this. So people is like, yeah, you have so much, you got so confident with it. No, I was so scared. Like, but again, in that moment, I was just driven. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be better. I wanted to improve. I started seeing some money, so I was okay. If people are gonna pay me to do this, I have to try to be the best possible.
Afraid of failure, right?
Yeah, man. So that keep me up, keep me crazy. And
yeah, man, that sounds awesome. I did something similar actually. I was a caricature artist in Boston. I used to sit on the street and draw people for a job, and there was always a couple guys there that were just so freaking good. And what I would do in my downtime is I would just practice line. I would just take a brush pen and then just practice the line and be like, how are they doing it? And just break it down. And I was there for, I think, 2 summers, always doing that. Mm-hmm. Even on my ride home at night on the subway, I would just do it again and copy these guys and just be like, I'm going to do it so much that I'm finally going to get it because my hand's just going to become accustomed to the same mark making.
And it's not easy, man. Nope. Caricature is not easy.
No, it's similar, though, because it was like you got one shot, someone's sitting in front of you, and your pressure's on to do it.
I know. And a lot of people is like, from outside, every time that I say, most of the time that I say a lot of people, I mean myself. And I think that other people might think the same way. But I don't know if true that it's a lot of people, but at least in my case, I thought it's easy. It's like a fun drawing. You just make a big nose and you got it. Bro, it's not easy at all.
No.
Trying to exaggerate, that's the word, exaggerate some features and not the other ones and make a fun drawing, but still make it look alike.
Yeah.
That's not easy at all. And having that confidence on the strokes, that's even harder.
Yep.
And those brush pens that you mentioned, that when you make a little more pressure, the line goes a little thicker and then thinner. But knowing where it has to do all of that, and ended up with a little, that every stroke when you need to and not when you don't need. All of that is so hard, man.
Yeah,
so hard. I tried to do caricature. There was something that when I was very little in Venezuela, my mother bought me it was how you call those? It's like you take classes by mail. So they send you a book in a little envelope with some pages or something that you have to read and practice. You put everything inside and send it. And they give you like
critique back,
and then you have to keep going. I did like 1 or 2, but it was expensive. We couldn't afford to keep doing it. But it was super frustrating and super hard. And I already knew kind of how to draw. I was super young, probably 12 or something. I don't know. So I already knew how to draw kind of okay. I would say good for the age, maybe. Caricatures stuff, they beat my butt, man. They were so
tough.
Yeah,
it made me confident, though, is because I was timid. And I think you're right in saying that a lot of our insecurities are what drive us. The idea that failure, like I don't want to fail, so I'm just going to practice this 400 times. So when I do it, it won't be bad. It'll be a little better than bad. But I was like, I don't want to sit in front of people and have them watch me draw and then hand it to a person and then see what they think about it. But you get confident quick. And I would imagine tattooing is probably similar, where you're kind of, you got one shot.
I know, man.
Can't mess it up.
So in the beginning, definitely, I could not tattoo. Like when I started that first tattoo shop, I ever started tattooing, that was 2007, I would say. 2008 or 9. 2009, I guess. I don't remember. 8 or 9. When I first started tattooing, right? Tattoo shop. The owner, now and then, he swing by and step over my shoulder looking. Man, what a pressure having somebody looking at your work.
Oh, yeah.
But then you become confident, and now you go to tattoo conventions where are tons of people walking by and looking at your work, and you kind of get used to it, right?
Yeah.
But to get used to it, you need to get confident what you're doing is okay, right?
So put your hours in, and you've probably done thousands of people now, and now it's like you'd probably kind of laugh at the first experience when you were doing it, and you're probably like, "I'll tattoo you," and your hand was shaky, and now you're like, "Yeah,
No, it's not like, I mean,
right." But I mean, like you know,
at least I'm. That's what I try to encourage to people that's learning anything. Do it so many times that when you have to do it, you just focus on trying to get right the project, right? Itself, knowing how the machine works. You have to be this angle or that angle. All of that is automatic anymore. You don't think anymore about it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like at this point, but still you have to be very focused. More because that constant challenge of becoming better every day. Like you do something and you kind of proud, but you know how it is when you also an artist, and this is something that many other friends have shared with me, the same thoughts, is that you're never really pleased with what you do. You always feel like, I could have done better.
Yep.
Or you see somebody else doing great and you're like, oh, it means I can push myself harder. It's not like, oh, this person is good and I'm bad, I suck. It's nothing like that. It's just like you get inspired, right?
Inspired to try harder.
Yeah, you see somebody doing amazing stuff. You're like, oh, I have to push myself harder.
Yeah.
I think I did a lot. I haven't done enough. I have to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And
it's a Larry Bird thing. If you're out there shooting 1,000 shots, there's always someone shooting 1,001. So you ain't going to get the record.
I know, man.
You know?
I know. Awesome, man. Brother, thank you so much.
Right.
Almost 3 hours of talking.
Holy shit.
I didn't know at all. Because I don't have my glasses. It's hard to see the thing.
Cool.
But yeah, almost 3 hours, man. I really, really appreciate you came, man. You said yes once, and look, man, you here. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, well, feel free to edit out whatever you want to. I don't know if you want a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, I don't mind, man.
Totally fine with me.
If I edit anything out, probably will be when we shut up to try to find out what was the beep in there.
Yeah.
Because it was a little long until we realized it was the smoke alarm. But other than that, man, I don't mind. I don't want to edit it, man. I don't feel like there is anything smart enough in me to try to filter any of the things that you say, thinking that I will consider people don't want to listen to that specific stuff, right? Yeah, I want people to listen to whatever you say, man, because I think it's awesome. And I gotta find a way to put your website and your Instagram. Totally, your Instagram is super awesome. And
where are you gonna put it? Because you can always put it just in the credits, like just type it or something.
I'm gonna do it in the credit. I'm not gonna do it over the image. So probably in the credit, and if I find a way to put it on YouTube, probably gonna be a link down there. People scroll down and see, the names there.
Sweet.
Probably I do a little presentation before I start just to show your books. I don't know, man.
Put that at the beginning, right?
I probably put that. Yeah, I got my nephew did a little soundtrack thing. I put in the beginning with. I don't know, man.
You got
I'm
it.
trying to do one thing at a time.
Yeah, you'll get
Just
it.
finding the way to connect all of those lightings, cameras, microphones.
You get a lot, yeah.
Things. I don't know. It was a journey trying to learn how to plug in. For 3 hours, man, I've been thinking pretty much every other minute, every other 10 minutes. I've been thinking, is this thing recording properly? I'm getting the sound. I hope
Did you get
it's
it?
working, man. I hope it's recording. I can see the cameras in the monitor that we put back there. I just don't know if I missed anything, but I hope it's good, man.
Sweet.
Brother,
All right.
thank you so much, man. I really
man.
appreciate you, man.
Yeah, next time we'll eat it over it and we'll have a couple drinks and
Yeah, definitely. A couple of drinks, man.
Sweet.
So thank you so much, man.
Yeah. So weird. You get no like